Warrior Lore. Chapter 312, Your Life is Mine. Chapter 312, Your Life is Mine. Elite Coder. Lightning twisted around him like snakes. It donned him with an armor that flickered purple. Zhuo Fan's eyes were bloodshot as he roared at the heavens. His veins popped one by one out of his skin, threatening to burst. With the sharp lightning wings stretching a meter in every direction, increasing the lightning output. 100 meters around him was pulverized. Zhuo Fan was now the avatar of a demon god, bent on spreading chaos and slaughter. And that horrifying face was twisted to such a degree. Even the audience watching beyond the veil felt weak in their knees. Even the 7 houses' profound heaven experts were shaking at the mighty display. Chu Qingcheng struck the national elemental stone, calling out his name as tears fell from her eyes, evidence of the pain in her heart. They were wrong about him. He was the one hurting the most from Xuan Ningxiang's passing. He chose to suppress his grief, to take them all to safety before going to slaughter. Huangpu Qingtian. Luo Yunchang was choking with emotion seeing Zhuo Fan go mad from the pain of loss. Luo Yunhai was startled. I have never seen Big Brother Zhuo lose control like that. Captain Peng nodded. His knuckles white. Zhuo Fan had always been wise and collected, an indomitable mountain, just like a true leader. Only now he realized their tough and resolved Steward Zhuo had a weaker side. Zhuo Fan's howls and twisted features evoked silent cries from the Luo clan. What pain, what torment must his heart be enduring for him to show such grief? The entire Luo clan turned to Regent estate for the first time ever. This meager, barely ascended second-rate clan was looking at the head of the 7 houses with a thirst for battle. Luo Yunhai's eyes flashed as they took in Huangpu Tianyuan and Lung Wuchang. They burned with endless rage, wishing nothing more than to purge the two from this world, uncaring of the looks the ants gave him. Long Wuchang smiled. Prime Minister, you were saying? A hero always falls for the princess. I never expected for such a cautious kid to get wrapped up in such a cliché. A shame, really. Zhuge Changfeng sighed. Long Wuchang laughed. It's because of his paranoid nature, of his dead heart, that a man who by all intents and purposes shouldn't have weaknesses would lose his mind in the simplest fashion. Emotional people have normal reactions when they are excited, while those dead inside, the tiniest spark could set them off and collapse them from within. Zhuge Changfeng nodded helplessly. Monkey, you cannot fight an old fox after all. Huangpu Qingtian, your life is mine. Zhuo Fan's roar broke everyone out of their reverie, and even Chu Qingqing's shout stopped. They saw him shoot for the skies, and he was gone the next second. Zhuo Fan, don't go. You know it's a trap. Chu Qingqing smashed at the national elemental stone, crying herself hoarse. But her voice was unable to pierce the veil. Zhuo Fan wouldn't have stopped even if he did hear her. He had long passed the point of no return. His emotions were scarring his heart, and the madness was the only sign showing what he was going through. He was driven by one thought alone, fueled by his inner turmoil. Nothing mattered more than ripping Huangpu Qingtian's head from his shoulder in offering to Ninger. Chu Qingcheng was crying and shouting long after he was gone. Grandmother held her. Child, he's doing it for another woman, not you. So why are you? Grandmother. Chu Qingcheng looked at her through tears. Didn't you say he was cold and ruthless? How did he change? Ugh. Grandmother was lost for words. How should I know? I am not his shadow. She had to admit, however, that not even she, who had raised 3 generations of Drifting Flowers edifice's elders, noticed Zhuo Fan having such strong affection for someone. Sighing, Grandmother shook her head. Chu Qingqing closed her eyes and said, I knew I had made the right choice back then. Startled, Grandmother nodded helplessly. Perhaps? Do you want to save her? An aged voice pierced Chu Qingqing's ears. Chu Qingqing turned in the voice's direction. You don't have to speak. If you are intent on saving her, come see me in the forest 30 miles from here. But you better hurry, lest the window closes. She only has 2 hours left. Shuddering, Chu Qingqing pulled out of Grandmother's embrace and flew away. Grandmother was stunned. But Chu Qingqing's impatient voice came next. Grandmother, I have something to do. I'll be back soon. Grandmother frowned. She used to know everything when it came to Drifting Flowers edifice. Just what is Chu Qingqing going to do? But she trusted her enough not to question her motives. When the clamor died down and Zhuo Fan left the water exit, everyone turned to the Earth National Elemental Stone. Huangpu Qingtian had long been waiting there gathering his men, waiting for his quarry, eldest young master. Are you certain the punk will fall for such a painfully obvious trap? Just now I saw the water exit activating. Wouldn't it make more sense for them to leave for Dragon Cloud City with the 4 brimming sacred pills? Turning to the 10,000 men's ambush, Yu Yushan sighed. With neither the pills nor winning the esoteric debate, we would truly lose this time. The other two nodded. Huangpu Qingtian mocked them. Humph, ignorant fools. I've already stressed what our main objective is. As long as Zhuo Fan lives, nothing else matters. And above all else, Sir Lung is never wrong. The others may return, but Zhuo Fan won't. Wait and see. The three bowed. They had no clue what was happening on Zhuo Fan's side, but the audience was clear on one thing. Zhuo Fan was on his way over to the Earth exit. They were cast reverent gazes onto Long Wuchang standing among Regent Estate's clansmen, as expected of unwanted contrivers' ploys. Even Demon Archon Zhuo Fan fell for it. He truly is the Empire's sage. Long Wuchang was basking in the gazes of everyone. Straightening his beard in pride, he felt like his glory had surpassed even Zhuge Chongfeng's. But the latter didn't bother, eyes fixed on the national elemental stone, contemplating. A day passed and Huangpu Qingtian was still sitting peacefully before the Earth exit. The sudden thunderclap scared off the birds in its path. The frantic and erratic power threatened to crush everything. Huangpu Qingtian opened his eyes and grinned, looking in the distance. Ha ha ha, finally. Yin Bangyi, Yu Yushan, Lin Xianfeng, get ready. We can't let him escape. Understood. The three cupped their hands, vanishing among the trees with the fall of lighting. It revealed a gruesome face. Zhuo Fan's eyes knew nothing but bloodlust. At this point Huangpu Qingtian was thrilled. His presence here proved that the plan had worked. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan. I used to think you had the same royal air as myself. How come you're riddled with emotion? How could you stoop so low? Now I see that I am the only one worthy to be king here. Huangpu Qingtian, your life is mine. Zhuo Fan roared, throwing himself at Huangpu Qingtian. Huangpu Qingtian sneered. Only kings are worthy of my attention. 3 shouts followed his words, and a flood of people came from all directions. More than 10,000. There were even hundreds of profound heaven experts leading the charge, wielding 4th-grade spiritual weapons with the sole purpose of piercing that diamond body of his. Zhuo Fan roared, get lost, ants. His voice, powered by his intent, spread all around, only to meet another intent along the way with a bang. The two intents canceled each other. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes widened. He didn't take Zhuo Fan to be capable of outdoing him in the strength of soul, but he made sure to cover it up with mockery. Humph, you'll never get to use intent as long as I'm around. Squinting, Zhuo Fan was still unfazed. If the easy way failed, he'd just have to kill them the hard way. Zhuo Fan sped up and made contact with the 10,000 men's army. Tens of spiritual weapons fell upon Zhuo Fan, akin to being hit by a cannonball each time. Even Yu Yushan and his 2 allies looked startled at the onslaught. Not even a radiant stage expert could escape the blows of tens of profound heaven experts all coming at once. They'd be picked apart. Zhuo Fan has truly lost it to charge head-on. The audience beyond the veil was of the same opinion. They finally realized the horrifying difference between a calculative beast and a mad one. Zhuo Fan had now lost all reason, all inhibitions. But regardless of how strong he was, even he would fall against an army. Luo Yunchang and others were watching in worry. What happened next was beyond anything they had ever dreamed of. Even Regent Estate was floored. I thought I told you. Get out of my sight, you insects. Following his roar, the purple lighting enveloped his body, and under the stunned audience's watch, he moved like a tornado with his wings spread. Whoosh. The attack hacked through metal and flesh alike. Tens of profound heaven experts and their spiritual weapons were bisected before they could make contact. The lightning wings wrapped in purple lightning were the ultimate killing weapon. Chapter 313, Demonic Dragon's Might. Chapter 313, Demonic Dragon's Might. Elite Coder. Utter shock. Every single person who was watching went slack-jawed. No exception. Long Wuchang was quite certain a couple dozen profound heaven experts wouldn't do Zhuo Fan in, but he didn't go as far as to assume they'd die in an instant. Not even a radiant stage expert with their intent sealed could pull it off, and yet Lung Wucheng's gaze grew firm, as did his frown. I knew the kid was hiding his strength. Now we finally see his limits. Xie Tianshang's eyes shrank, the hand on the hilt tightened, till now he saw Zhuo Fan as a convenient target to challenge and better himself, only to find out that the guy was an even bigger objective than Huangpu Qingtian had ever been. Zhuo Fan's mad slaughter was that of a tyrant, trampling all that stood in his way. The bloody and gruesome battle had even this martial fanatic's blood pumping. He was totally regretting it now. Why couldn't he have stayed back in Beast King Mountain? He would have been fighting alongside Zhuo Fan right about now, getting his fix of killings. Huangpu Qingtian's eyebrow moved. Zhuo Fan had defied his projections. With those lightning wings of his, even capable of cutting through fourth-grade spiritual weapons like butter, taking a leap further. It wasn't that much of a wild guess that those wings could pierce his own hardened body. Attack! The instant death of dozens of profound heaven experts struck fear in the rest, but Huangpu Qingtian was there to make sure they would stop at nothing to kill him for a moment. Nobody knew what to do while the others were in a conundrum over their literal existence. Zhuo Fan had no such qualms. He jumped into the fray, waving his wings and fists in every direction. Bam! Another few dozen profound heaven experts bit the dust, cut right down the middle. Zhuo Fan's hands weren't idle either, punching the still-beating hearts out of the chest of two others he squeezed, sending blood and gore around, while the tube decorations on his arms blew apart. His eyes, though, were just as brutal and bloodshot as when he started this bloody mess. They were a window into his heart, consumed now by slaughter. The legs of the rest wobbled, their hearts gripped in fear. Zhuo Fan was the very personification of a savage beast, killing regardless of who barred his path. Some that broke out into a mad run for their lives were swiftly caught up and killed with impunity at this moment. Valor pushed through the fear, and everyone came to one conclusion. Since they were destined to die either way, they'd rather go down fighting. They fell upon him like a flood. As the thirst for murder in Zhuo Fan's eyes grew and grew, Huangpu Qingtian had a satisfied smirk. I finally understand what Sir Long was talking about. The collected Zhuo Fan would never engage in senseless slaughter, breeding hatred all around, but go for scare tactics. We may be 10,000, but the ones engaged in fighting only amount to a mere handful. But with his mind consumed by rage, he forced everyone to see no escape from death, lest they kill him. He has completely aroused their self-preservation. Revenge is so deeply ingrained in his mind that he is no longer feared. Ha ha ha. Eldest young master is a genius. We won't even need to intervene now. The punk will sooner or later end up dying, swallowed by our 10,000 men. Yu Yushan snickered and added a thumbs up. Huangpu Qingtian waved him off. Hardly. Answer just that, ants. They won't ever get to wring his life. Their only use is to chip at Zhuo Fan's stamina and reveal any meddlesome aces he has tucked away. It will be up to me to cull this demon for murder. No one else is worthy, not even you three. The trio looked at each other, their hearts filled with dissatisfaction and anger, but none retorted. Going back to the slaughter at hand, Zhuo Fan was found to have reaped through hundreds of experts. The trio nodded inwardly. Eldest young master has a point. The monster has gone berserk, but we're still no match for him. Now then, it is time we added to the challenge. Activate that 36 array. Huangpu Qingtian watched the slaughter with a cold and detached eye. Yin Bongi gave a signal to the ones hiding in the forest. The men's hands weaved through gestures, and a bright light enveloped the battlefield. Zhuo Fan, who saw only red before his eyes, suddenly stopped and his knees buckled. Looking down, he saw a silvery light. Meteor array. Zhuo Fan's instinct told him this was a first-grade array. Putting pressure on him and sealing his movements, he could tear through such a low-grade array with his yuan qi alone. But it was easier said than done when being assaulted from all sides by endless waves of enemies. Those profound heaven experts wielding spiritual weapons were waiting for this golden opportunity and stabbed him. A dozen of them chose to aim for the lightning wings instead. With the lightning wings nailed to the ground, he was like a lamb to the slaughter. Soaring demonic dragon's head is mine. One excited profound heaven expert saw endless glory within reach, but then a curse came from behind. Don't you dare get greedy. Stick to the plan and hold down his wings. Any mistake now will turn the eldest young master's wrath on you. Shuddering, The man woke up from his reverie, moving from Zhuo Fan's head to the wings. The audience beyond the veil were crying out in shock. As Luo Yunchang was sweating buckets with worry, they only had to trap Zhuo Fan, and when he was meek and helpless, the sea of people would attack and finish the job. Huangpu Tinyuan smiled. Sir Long, the punk would be worse for wear if not outright killed. Who knows? I reckon his ultimate demise will rest in the eldest young master's hands. Lung Wuchang shook his head. Huangpu Tianyuan snorted. Won't that give him all the glory? Whoosh. Tens of fourth-grade spiritual weapons were coming for Zhuo Fan's head. Not even Zhuo Fan could take that. Yet the man in question had the same bloodthirsty gaze, not registering the meager clowns and their parlor tricks. As the spiritual weapons approached, joy blossomed on the faces of everyone. Just then, Zhuo Fan's right eye shined with a golden halo. Divine Eye of the Void. First stage, shift. Whoosh. All spiritual weapons vanished without a trace, only to appear a mile away. Somewhere in the forest they all froze in shock. They were this close to ending the monster, but their weapons vanished. How do we kill him now? Won't we just die? Thank God the monster is still in the meteor array, and we can draw back. Their relief was short-lived, however, as the purple lightning once again exploded from his body. A boom announced the destruction of the array beneath him, as well as the bloody pieces of profound heaven experts flying everywhere. Zhuo Fan made a show of standing up and, without preamble, resumed the slaughterfest. Only this time, the purple lightning acted as a shield 3 meters around him. Those unfortunate enough not to remove themselves from peril were ejected by force, permanently and in a spectacular fashion of gory shower and blood. Even the hidden arrays around him were detonated ahead of their time. The purple lightning tore through anyone and anything without remorse. Zhuo Fan was charging all this while. He didn't need to do much else, with the shield blowing everyone around to pieces. In mere 15 minutes, the death toll reached 4 digits, with many of the victims strewn around all over the place. The rest shirked back in fear, not willing to face him and test his edge. Now even if Zhuo Fan chased them, they'd still flee. The first time they had placed their trust in human wave tactics and held a glimmer of hope at overpowering the savage. While now, that notion was quite literally blown away, evident by the victims getting zapped as they tested the lightning shield, only to die gruesomely before they could even reach him. How do you fight that? A man's valor grew when fighting against surmountable opponents. But in Zhuo Fan's case, the man was indomitable, and fear had soon taken root. The battlefield had devolved into Zhuo Fan chasing around fleeing and powerless targets. No one could stop him. Yin Bongyi was soaked in sweat, now realizing the tragic and deadly extent of Zhuo Fan's purple lightning. It was worse than his poison. Under these circumstances, the tables had turned. They were the ones with the army, and yet they were the ones ending up butchered. Yu Yushan was panicking. Eldest young master, that thing is a freak of nature. Our 10,000 men's army will be gone soon if we don't do something. Not to mention the whole of Dragon Cloud City's clan and house leaders are watching us. We've been plotting and scheming for so long to trap one man, and if we still can't deal with him, we'll become the butt of the Empire's joke. I know. I don't need you to remind me. Huangpu Qingtian's snort cut him off. His eyes glinted with cruelty as he stepped forward. I didn't think I'd have to step in so soon. I truly am surrounded by trash. Chapter 314, Dragons Collide. Chapter 314, Dragons Collide. Elite Coder. People watched the Earth National Elemental Stone engrossed, be it from fear or shock. Some were too stunned to even react. Zhuo Fan had braved against 1,000 men alone and killed them by the score like a true demon god. It was long past the point where the house's elders could stay calm. Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Long Zhuo was the most affected. Zhuo Fan's murder weapon was none other than the purple lightning from his eye, though the difference couldn't be bigger. Zhuo Fan's purple lightning was so strong he used it as armor, and all he had to do was run into the enemy unchallenged. The enemy had no choice but to flee. Unable to cope with such destructive force, the lofty figure, filled with zeal in his indiscriminate killing, made the viewers secretly cry out in excitement. One particular crazed martial fanatic felt the opposite. Xie Tianshang had long been shuddering with fervor and fighting spirit. Whoosh. A light announced Chu Qingqing's return, her face filled with grief. Grandmother rushed to her side in worry. Qingqing, what's wrong? Nothing. Chu Qingqing shook her head. How is he? Grandmother sighed and turned to the veil. See for yourself. Chu Qingqing caught Zhuo Fan's howl as he tore into the 10,000-men army. His face was malevolent among the flying limbs, a picture only achieving completion with the symphony manifested by the agonized victims. The bloodshot eyes seemed to write off anyone they landed on. Gone from this world, the first thing that came to mind was a death god unleashed upon this world to spread suffering and pain. Chu Qingqing's heart was twisted up from pain, biting her lip in fear of crying out. Even as tears fell from her eyes, she knew very well that the crazed Zhuo Fan was in incredible pain and grief. Look, Huangpu Qingtian is joining. At the nameless cry, everyone turned to the imposing and mighty figure charging with relentless force towards Zhuo Fan. There was not a single person out there who didn't recognize the conceited, heaven-shaking Dragon Lord. This lifted the moods of everyone at the prospect. The two strongest geniuses of Tianyu were duking it out. Who was going to win? Who was going to be the #1 clan in this time's esoteric debate? It would soon be made apparent. As dragons collided, the rules were very clear, though. The first to return to Dragon Cloud City was crowned champion. Though everyone knew, the returnees even more so, that it was merely an escape. Cowardice. The title of #1 clan of Tianyu rested on the shoulders of these two dragons. Gulping, every single person was watching the most anticipated battle of the century with hearts in their throat. Xie Tianshang was holding the sword hilt so tight that his hand turned white. His eyes were sparkling while his excitement shot through the roof. Those two were the objectives he wanted to desperately surpass. But who was the best and strongest of their generation hanged far more heavily on his mind. This battle would settle who was to be his true goal. Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan went nuts in killing anything that moved, going so far under in his bloodlust that he lost focus of his surroundings. It was then that the shout coming from behind pierced his ears. Turning around, he saw Huangpu Qingtian charging and shouted, Huangpu Qingtian, you will pay with your life. Zhuo Fan moved away from those ants and rushed towards Huangpu Qingtian. The purple lightning withdrew into his fist just as he struck. Huangpu Qingtian roared as well, shining golden and surrounded by 9 golden dragons as he met the punch. Imperial Tyrant body art. Bam! The staggering power of the punches smashed together. A golden light erupted and purple lightning exploded. As the earth caved and sky trembled, Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingtian's fists were now in a deadlock. But the power only grew stronger, roaming along their arms and aiming to settle the stalemate. Huangpu Qingtian and Zhuo Fan glared at each other, with neither backing out an inch. But the sudden explosion flung both of them backwards for 5 feet. The tremendous pressure swept the battlefield. The rampant golden glow along with the berserk purple lightning tore into any poor devil that crossed its path. The fallout alone robbed the lives of 2,000 hapless souls, reduced to mangled flesh and adding to this hellscape. Gasping, the survivors fled as fast as they could. It went beyond what their feeble minds could possibly comprehend. Just the shock wave reaped through them like death. Not even profound heaven experts were spared from such a cruel fate. They had finally come to realize, on their own skin, what a gulf in power truly meant. The profound heaven experts knew the two of them could kill them with just their thumb. How could heaven allow for such monsters to exist? It went against the natural order. The ones receiving the full brunt of the shock were in fact 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. They were aware of how the two were leagues above them, but nobody had imagined it would be such a steep cliff separating them. They had a feeling that not even in the radiant stage would they be the two's match. Xie Tianshang clenched his fists in frustration, but sighed in the end. Just how am I to surpass these monsters? For the first time ever, this martial fanatic actually complained about one's strength. Huangpu Qingtian and Zhuo Fan's display left him utterly powerless. A standoff. While the rest were awed by the power display, only Jade Flute Divine Sword Fong Qiubai's eyes squinted. They even contained a glint of amazement while looking at Zhuo Fan. The Emperor's intent for Zhuo Fan to harass Huangpu Qingtian came from his council. He had gone to great lengths in informing Zhuo Fan of every aspect of Huangpu Qingtian's traits. That a head-on clash was ill-advised and he had to lean on tactics to get the upper hand. Nonetheless, it did not lower the danger Zhuo Fan had faced in this mission. Yet at the end of it all, the kid took merely 5 years to reach the level of monstrosity Huangpu Qingtian turned out to be. Something he had failed to foresee. He could go as far as to say Zhuo Fan was the truest monster of the two. Just 5 years ago, Zhuo Fan barely defeated Huangpu Qingtian's younger brother, who was far weaker. And here he was now the other brother's equal. It was just too hard to wrap his head around how insane it was. What blew his mind, however, was the two monsters' one-stage gap in cultivation, so the two may be equal right now. But Zhuo Fan's potential was inhumanly above Huangpu Qingtian's. It was hard to fathom what the future held for the man. In 5 years, no, just 3 years, Zhuo Fan may very well be able to wipe the floor with Huangpu Qingtian. Such prospects were so ridiculous, even Fang Qiubai had to do a double take. It's all so obvious now why the kid was so carefree when accepting this mission. He is confident of victory. As long as he comes out alive from this battle, he will grow into the #1 overlord of Tianyu. Not even Regent Estate's 1,000-year-old legacy will be of use then. Ha ha ha. Fang Qiubai's side Long Wuchang and Huangpu Tianyuan had reached the same dreaded conclusion. Zhuo Fan had now risen to the level of biggest threat on their list. He must be stopped at all costs. The kid can already cause upheavals, throwing the 7 houses into turmoil. If allowed to grow for even a second more, no matter how much power the 7 houses bring out, it wouldn't be worth a damn. Huangpu Qingtian stopped his skidding, looking at Zhuo Fan in astonishment. He couldn't believe what just happened. One of his peers actually had the power to fight him. Zhuo Fan had so far been a thorn in his side through his cunning and sinister arts. But this clash proved they were equals. A truth he wasn't ready to accept. The majestic and royal Regent Estate's eldest young master, who had been uncontested all his life, had now found his nemesis. Perhaps the one to rob him of his birthright to rule. A deep sense of danger had taken root into his heart. Something that had never happened before. It only worked to fuel his thirst for murder as he roared, "Zhuo Fan, today you must die. Huangpu Qingtian, pay with your life." Zhuo Fan roared back. The lightning crackled as he charged, and Huangpu Qingtian did the same. Boom. The sky exploded in lightning as the earth was scorched. The two forces of nature in the shape of body cultivators clashed blow by blow, tearing the world asunder and spreading death. Chapter 315, Seal. Chapter 315, Seal Rip. The space itself cracked as the golden dragon claw pierced at Zhuo Fan. The sharp gale cut at one's face. Squinting, Zhuo Fan was shocked inside. The feeling of this power told him that this martial art was at the limit of surpassing profound rank level, and entering the earth level. The consequences would be dire. If it struck the audience beyond the national elemental stone were equally shocked. Huangpu Qingtian's arsenal wasn't limited to just the imperial tyrant body art. Xie Tianshang and his allies were the only ones who recognized that claw. Huangpu Qingtian had used the same claw on them once before, but that time paled compared to the one he showed today. Yet even that weak claw was enough to force them into submission. Witnessing Huangpu Qingtian going all out, it dawned on them what a deadly move it was, that it could crush mountains. Fang Qiubai watched it all with a critical eye. 9 dragons diamond body? I never thought I'd see this earth-ranked cultivation method appear again. What? Sir Fang D, did you say earth-ranked? Gasping, the rest couldn't believe their ears. Grandmother cried out, "Is this the fabled imperial families?" Fang Qiubai nodded. It is precisely the earth-ranked cultivation method the imperial family used at the time they founded Tianyu. 9 dragons diamond body. With the cultivation method being so brutal, the pinnacle of body cultivation, one needed remarkable talent coupled with a staunch body, lest they would die a gruesome death. At the founding of the empire, the imperial family could only train in the first stage, but even that proved to be too much for some. The dragon power ran rampant throughout their body, bursting their vessels and ultimately their bodies. I would have never guessed Huangpu would attain great ancestors' power, more so as Fang Qiubai squinted at Regent Estate. His training of the first stage is sublime and is very likely to go beyond it. Eyes turned to Regent Estate with horror. It was bad enough that Regent Estate was the strongest of the houses, but now their future estate lord had the talent to wield an earth-ranked cultivation method. Who was there left to face them? Regent Estate was clear on this, sticking out their heads in pride, as if to say, "Now you know our power. Be good and wait. See how we deal with anyone who opposes us." Grandmother and her 2 allies' moods sank. There was always a gap in the 7 houses' power, but that would usually be bridged with their inherited profound ranked martial art. That gave them a fighting chance, yet with Regent Estate using an earth-ranked martial art, they had left the other houses far behind. A level they could never reach. The three houses began to lament about their future. Was it perhaps a mistake pitting ourselves against the Regent Estate? Even their greatest hope of this generation, Zhuo Fan, was about to be culled. He only knew profound ranked martial arts. His talent was great, but how was he to rise up to Huangpu Qingtian wielding an earth-ranked martial art? They turned to the national elemental stone with a shake of their heads, assured that the worst outcome was nigh. Only Chu Qingqing and Luo Yunchang begged to differ. In fact, they weren't thinking at all. Their minds and hearts were filled with worry for Zhuo Fan, trapped there all alone and waiting for Huangpu Qingtian to strike. Die, Zhuo Fan! Huangpu Qingtian cackled. Victory was at hand. Zhuo Fan couldn't budge, but his eyes flashed golden. The one to die is you. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage, shift. Zhuo Fan vanished into thin air. Huangpu Qingtian's claw gouged a 1,000-meter deep hole into the ground, eyes trembling. Huangpu Qingtian wailed. He was about to get up when a relentless force smashed into him. A purple lightning-empowered fist rammed into his back. The rampant purple lightning rained havoc to his insides, tearing at his heart. No matter how tough Huangpu Qingtian was, he was not invincible. He spat crimson blood and was sent barreling into the hole he had just made, deepening it by another 1,000 meters. Such a radical change happened too fast for anyone to comprehend or react. None saw how Zhuo Fan had dodged, only registering how his fist buried Huangpu Qingtian. They were dumbstruck, minds blown. Few knew about Zhuo Fan's new abilities, with only the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix having seen him using it. But now everyone had gotten a taste of what he was capable of, and all they could do was stare. Bug-eyed Feng Qiubai shivered, blinking in confusion. Not even this guy, peak radiant stage expert and glorious divine dragon of Tianyu, had any clue about how Zhuo Fan had pulled it off. What just happened? Is there a martial art in this world that I don't know of? I know all that came from Tianyu. So how? Feng Qiubai shook his head in the end, praising the kid to new levels. He always liked taking people by surprise. Grandmother and Long Yifei's eyes lit up. Under the imminent threat of Huangpu Qingtian's earth-ranked martial art, Zhuo Fan escaped unscathed and even retaliated. Their hopes of winning against Regent Estate were rekindled. The kid doesn't disappoint. Ha ha ha. The trio laughed to themselves. Huangpu Tianyuan watched it all with a thin smile. He spoke calmly to Lung Wuchang, but every elder heard it too. Qingtian is no match for the little monster. We can only depend on Sir Long's plans if we are to ever defeat him. Worry not, Estate Lord. Everything is going according to plan. Knowing the man aimed to curb the elder's view of the eldest young master, Long Wuchang merely nodded. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled and enjoyed the show from the cloud of dust hovering above the hole. Huangpu Qingtian burst out. Quite a sorry sight. He wasn't able to get his footing straight though as a sharp wind approached from behind. Huangpu Qingtian flashed around, face to face with Zhuo Fan's bloodshot eyes. The sharp lightning wings traced his face, leaving a bloody gash. Huangpu Qingtian's heart was wrecked with fear, his body shaking. That was too close. Thanks to his quick reaction, he had kept his head from being impaled. It was his first time being in actual mortal danger. As he grew increasingly cautious, Zhuo Fan's bloodthirst only rose. Zhuo Fan was the only one to pose a threat to his life. Huangpu Qingtian grabbed the outstretched wing and punched Zhuo Fan with the other hand. The blow shot forth with such might it aimed to explode his head. Zhuo Fan wasn't worried, using the golden halo in his eye to whisk away right before it touched him. Huangpu Qingtian once again found himself getting struck from behind. Zhuo Fan used his wing to whip the man's back and leave a nasty gash. Purple lightning singed through the skin and forced another cough of blood out of him. Zhuo Fan pressed his advantage, following with more blows. Huangpu Qingtian tried to put up resistance, but he couldn't muster the strength. Zhuo Fan was an enigma. He couldn't get a read on his next action and was caught by surprise each time. The scene turned odd, to say the least. Zhuo Fan hounded Huangpu Qingtian like a ghost, whipping him from every direction. Every strike left bloody wounds on Huangpu Qingtian's body, while he was coughing blood. Yet not once could he fight back. It was more along the lines of him wanting to But being unable to find his target, the man moved around like a ghost. Covering his tracks, Huangpu Qingtian found himself in his most humiliating moment. As if he was Zhuo Fan's punching bag and received all the man's lashing. Fated to take it all, but could never lash out himself. The audience was speechless. How come the head of the 6 dragons was reduced to being flogged? By contrast, Zhuo Fan was having the time of his life. Consumed by the thrill of revenge, Huangpu Qingtian had had enough at this point and roared, "What the hell are you guys gawking at? Activate the array." "But eldest young master, didn't you say we should wait?" Yu Yushan mumbled. Huangpu Qingtian barked at him, "I can't wait any longer. Do it." Yu Yushan saw the eldest young master had lost his poise and grace. He knew time was of the essence and signaled the men in the forest. The battlefield was then shrouded in a barrier. Zhuo Fan was just about to change places again when he was frozen stiff, unable to control space anymore, a sealed space. Zhuo Fan frowned and snorted inside. He finally understood what unwanted contriver had cooked up. The mastermind saw even through his divine eye of the void. Chapter 316, Limit Release. Chapter 316, Limit Release. Elite Coder. It's too soon to use it. Lung Wuchang sighed. As far as I know, the kid is quite an expert in arrays. The longer the sealed space's activation is put off, the better, as it would catch him off guard. But Qingtian can't hold on till then. Huangpu Tianyuan smiled. Sirlong, does the punk have any chance of coming out of the array now that it's activated? Lung Wuchang shook his head. Even as an array grandmaster, his odds are slim at best. It's fine then. You're just worried that with enough time he'd see through the array. Since his chances are mostly non-existent, what's there to be afraid of? Huangpu Tianyuan said, no, when I move, I make sure to rob even the most minute chance of victory from my enemy. It goes double for increasingly dangerous opponents. Lung Wuchang's eyes held a savage glint. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed mirthless. A clash between schemers is far crueler than any cultivator's fight. Microcosmic Orbit Array. Zhuo Fan noticed the 365 profound heaven experts around him, holding their hands in prayer and sitting down where the core of the array was. This was the 6th grade sealing array, Microcosmic Orbit Array. Its only function was to seal off space. Set up according to the heavenly directions, a miniature world was formed, trapping anyone within entering it. One would find himself in another world. The only way to escape was by employing dominating might to crush the heaven and earth of this miniature world. Anything less, and it could keep even a radiant stage expert sealed inside for as long as the controller wished. No matter how much the victim raved with space sealed up, Zhuo Fan's shift was under lock and key. It was the first time since the start of his battle with Huangpu Qingtian that he felt danger. This battle was now inevitable, and only one outcome was viable, winning or dying. All other choices were now moot. Huangpu Qingtian. Zhuo Fan's malice was directed at the snickering man. His fists clenched and purple lightning flashed as he charged. Huangpu Qingtian did the same. Confident now that his plan was successful in sealing shift, his eyes glinted sinisterly. Meeting his enemy head on, the two were at a stalemate again. But Huangpu Qingtian felt at ease. The earlier lashing had been miserable, robbing him of any chance to fight back. But now that he could display his overbearing might, he was filled with utter joy. The two clashed for 200 more rounds, with Huangpu Qingtian becoming increasingly bolder and Zhuo Fan finding himself strained. The audience was stunned. Weren't they equals? Why is Huangpu Qingtian holding out strong after all this time, yet Zhuo Fan looks to be reaching his limit? Was Huangpu Qingtian holding back from the start? Worry wormed into their hearts. Xie Tianshang sighed. Huangpu Qingtian is dreadful to hold back even against Zhuo Fan. But then a laughter resounded. Ha ha ha. He hadn't. Zhuo Fan is the one who used too much stamina and had long surpassed his limit. All eyes turned to Feng Qiubai. Don't you see? The purple lightning has dimmed and his body is starting to give. He must have been relying on the purple lightning to raise his power when clashing with Huangpu Qingtian. But the toll exceeds the limit his body can bear. That strange art of his allowed him to fight back, but now that it is sealed by that array, he is on the ropes. He may seem to be meeting Huangpu Qingtian at every blow, but he's spent. The outcome is a foregone conclusion by now. Fang Qiubai sighed in regret being pointed out. The others looked closer and noticed how Zhuo Fan was growing frantic. Wounds riddled his body and his blood was being added to the soaked mud. He couldn't take much more punishment or his body would break while Huangpu Qingtian was getting more and more savage. His power was unbreakable. Soaring demonic dragon has no chance against heaven-shaking dragon lord. This is providence. Everyone shook their heads, yet the one on the receiving end didn't seem to care. Zhuo Fan still met Huangpu Qingtian head-on, driven by the thought of killing his enemy even at the cost of his own life. His effort had earned him the audience's respect. It looked like a typical case of fighting against impossible odds, but everyone took it as the eulogy of a tragic hero. Regent Estate snickered at Zhuo Fan's plight. Xie Tianshang held his sword, filled with battle lust. He was itching to fight alongside Zhuo Fan. Chu Qingqing and Luo Yunchang had been crying all this time, their hearts gripped by pain. Zhuo Fan's mind is drowned in thoughts of revenge, fighting savagely with total disregard for his own safety. After another 100 clashes, the lightning scattered from Zhuo Fan's body. Huangpu Qingtian availed himself of the enemy's rare moment of weakness and let out a dragon roar as he smashed an empowered fist into Zhuo Fan's face. Imperial Tyrant body art. Boom! After an ear-splitting explosion, Zhuo Fan was knocked into the ground for the first time. He spat blood as the earth splintered over 1,000 meters. Yu Yushan sighed was bewildered. Zhuo Fan had taken those punches before, but this time he actually spat blood, like he had suffered a major wound. Why now and not earlier? Huangpu Qingtian was the only one who understood, stepping on the powerless Zhuo Fan's chest as he mocked, "Humph, prick, where's all your power gone to now? Don't you have a bag full of tricks? What's wrong? Take them out. He. You think I couldn't tell that the purple lightning was giving you power while eating you from the inside? You did this to yourself, not me. You never were my match." Huangpu Qingtian pressed harder and Zhuo Fan spat blood and gore, yet no sound escaped his clenched teeth. Luo Yunchang and the women cried in pain, while the rest sighed how the soaring demonic dragon was on his deathbed. With his cunning, Huangpu Qingtian would never be his match in a one-on-one fight. Based on how many tricks he had, a darn shame he lost his mind and now had fallen for Huangpu Qingtian's ploy. Zhuo Fan needed but days, and he'd surpass Huangpu Qingtian many times over. But that ship had sailed, and so too would his life. Huangpu Qingtian squinted at Zhuo Fan's puny attempts, deriding him. A pity, really. With your talent, if you had fought for any longer, the true king might have been another. But you moron, lost yourself over a dumb girl. This proves that you are unfit to be king. The only true king in this world is me, Huangpu Qingtian. He punctuated with a stomp on Zhuo Fan's head as he roared his victory speech. Since you are so consumed by love, I'll send you off to join that dumb girl. You wanted revenge? Humph, you won't have it even in your next life. For that wretched girl's death to drag you down like this made killing her all the more sweeter. Ha ha. Who? Huangpu Qingtian's cackle jarred the ears of everyone. He raised his leg, ready to burst Zhuo Fan's head, as people's hearts seized and they looked down. The women's tears ran in streams, but then a flicker of lightning stopped Huangpu Qingtian's raised leg. Huangpu Qingtian was in shock, finding his leg gripped in an iron vise, with purple lightning streaking over it stronger than ever. Heart seized. Huangpu Qingtian realized that he couldn't stomp no matter how much he tried. Huangpu Qingtian, you will never kill me. The grim and eerie voice sounded like it came from hell. Under Huangpu Qingtian's shock, the grip flung him into the air. He couldn't do anything to fight it. When he picked himself up, what he saw froze him. How does he still have so much power? Huangpu Qingtian watched the dazzling lighting and gulped. The others were dumbstruck in the middle of the lightning storm. Zhuo Fan rose to his feet, his eyes bursting with bloodlust. Although soaked in blood himself and riddled with wounds, the boundless might exploding from him hammered into the hearts of all onlookers. Huangpu Qingtian turned grave. Just how much power is this punk hiding? Zhuo Fan's eyes were dead cold. Uncaring of all the wounds all over his body, his hatred for Huangpu Qingtian was on full display. It was so thick that even the audience beyond the national elemental stone could feel the chill in their bones. Huangpu Qingtian, I will send you to hell even if I have to drag you down with me. Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth. His face twisted. Divine Eye of the Void, limit release. An even stronger purple lightning burst from his body. Zhuo Fan had unleashed all the purple lightning he absorbed back in Lightning Canyon. Chapter 317, Bashing of a Regent. Chapter 317, Bashing of a Regent. Elite Coder. Roar. A wail of anger mixed with pain reached the clouds. Zhuo Fan's power exploded, purple lighting gushing out of him like a flood. His madness increased as well. The overpowering might left others gasping and shivering in fear. Huangpu Qingtian recoiled as well, fear obvious in his eyes. He had never seen one man capable of unleashing such a raw display of power, until now. What was even more astounding was that the said man didn't blow up from the strain. The viewers beyond the National Elemental Stone weren't there to feel it, but the sight was shocking enough. Feng Qiubai squinted. The kid was hiding such a move. But can he take it? The blood on Zhuo Fan's body only grew thicker. Just like a dead tree, he was pushing towards collapse. Feng Qiubai frowned, worried. Chu Qingcheng and the other women's hearts went to the man's suffering. Their tears flowed for him. It was obvious that Zhuo Fan's trump card was a life for a life. Zhuo Fan from before would have never resorted to such desperate means unless it was a matter of life and death. But now, for the sake of killing Huangpu Qingtian, for revenge, he threw it all away. With a cry of pain, Zhuo Fan's surging power had reached a plateau. Purple lightning bathed his body. His wings turned purple as well. They crackled with lightning, releasing waves of power. Zhuo Fan panted. His body bloodied from head to toe. The bones of his legs were visible as the tyrannical might of the purple lightning ate through his flesh. The pain was excruciating, but his eyes only grew more sinister. Huangpu Qingtian's heart seized looking at the purple lightning show, but he still found in him one last mockery. Zhuo Fan, I was wondering what great and all-powerful ace had you been keeping all this time, only to find out it is a dumb, crippling move to gain the power to beat me. Your body is so wrecked you can barely stand. You may have obtained the power now, but it's still not enough. Whoosh! The lightning storm flashed in his face in the form of a palm. It flung him 1,000 meters away with a bang, burying him deep into a cliff as it collapsed over him. Zhuo Fan now took his earlier place, arm outstretched and a cold glint in his eyes. Assesses. Be it the survivors or the viewers, everyone gasped. They knew Zhuo Fan had the power, but the sheer speed with which he moved was mind-boggling. Not even that monster, Huangpu Qingtian, could see him coming. Rumble. Huangpu Qingtian pulled himself out of the debris with a bloody nose. He didn't have the time to care, finding it more important to stare at the cold figure in shock. What was that? Was too fast. And what was that power? The punk is clearly on his last leg, so why does he have so much power? He's even stronger than when the battle started. For the first time ever, Huangpu Qingtian's heart was in fear's grip. Huangpu Qingtian shook it away. He was undefeated, conceited into thinking he was heaven's walking gift on earth, its rightful king. How could such a lofty being ever know fear? Gnashing his teeth and forcing himself to remain calm, Huangpu Qingtian's eyes regained their battle spirit as he looked ahead only to find no one there. Huangpu Qingtian had yet to make sense of it as a shocking force slammed into his back, a purple lightning out of the blue boom. The ground caved in for miles on end. Huangpu Qingtian was in the middle, coughing up blood and getting the shock of his life. When did he get behind me? He turned his stiff head back only to meet Zhuo Fan's icy stare and the purple lightning-infused fist into his back. Humiliation. Being bashed around twice now without the slightest chance at retaliation was a clear and naked insult to Huangpu Qingtian. The shame only grew when he realized he was actually the weaker of the two. This was his complete and utter defeat in his 20-plus years alive. Huangpu Qingtian had never ever thought it was conceivable. It went without saying, but he was in denial now. Huangpu Qingtian's veins popped, anger overriding his heart, and the bloodthirst in his eyes grew. Zhuo Fan must die. Roaring his frustration, Huangpu Qingtian bore through the pain and slapped the ground to whip around and break free from Zhuo Fan's fist, pushing down on him to get some altitude. He then clawed at Zhuo Fan's face. 9 Dragons Diamond Body, Dragon-Empowered Claw. Rip. Huangpu Qingtian's mighty claw made eerie sounds as if it tore into space itself. Nothing could stand in its way even before it landed. The ground caved 100 meters. Zhuo Fan merely stood there, taking the pressure like it was nothing. Yu Yushan's group had been worried for Huangpu Qingtian. But they now cheered. It's the Earth-ranked martial art. 9 Dragons Diamond Body. Ha! The punk is dead for sure. Yu Yushan laughed. Yin Bongi's face split into a grin. If not for that fancy art he used before, the punk would have been dead for ages. Now he is trapped in an array, and won't escape no matter what trick he pulls. The rest of the survivors nodded thrilled. They could practically see Zhuo Fan's head rolling. The dragon's clash was about to reach its end, and everyone was excited to see it happen. Chu Qingsheng was more worried than ever. Huangpu Qingtian's earth-ranked martial art wasn't something one could just take head-on. Zhuo Fan had bolstered his power, but in his wounded state, she feared he wouldn't be able to take it. Everyone watched nerve-wracked for Zhuo Fan's fate to end. Ha ha ha, die you prat. Huangpu Qingtian cackled, his claw landing on Zhuo Fan's head. The hearts of everyone stopped for a second. Only Zhuo Fan stood calm, unaffected by the pressure. But when the claw was on top of him, his fist tightened. Purple lightning gathered and struck. Bam! The fist and claw met, releasing a terrible sound. But just as they touched, Huangpu Qingtian's claw was flung away. Zhuo Fan's purple lightning-powered fist astonishingly smashed the man's face. Huangpu Qingtian was flung into the sky, blood trailing behind him from his nose. Zhuo Fan was still calmly standing in the same spot. His fist held high. The yapping around instantly grew to a halt, and the people looked at the imposing figure in fear. Dude, that's an earth-ranked martial art, you know? Personally delivered by heaven-shaking Dragon Lord. Aren't you perhaps just a little bit condescending, flicking it away with a meager fist? Everyone gulped, unnerved. They wrote Zhuo Fan off at first, thinking the earth-ranked martial art had rooted him in place. But now they knew he was looking down on it, too strong. Xie Tianyang's blood was boiling with excitement. Seeing the 2 dragons fight, my life was worth it. Tuning out the senseless chatter, Zhuo Fan looked at the man he had sent flying, hovering in the air. His eyes glinted, and he jumped in. But an instant, he was upon Huangpu Qingtian. Huangpu Qingtian was startled. He didn't get to feel the extent of his wounds as Zhuo Fan came with a kick in the gut. The blow was so fierce and brutal that even if he wasn't heavily injured before, he was now puking his guts and blood from the pain. Whoosh! A flash of light smashed towards Yu Yushan and the other 2. The trio was taken in by Zhuo Fan's ridiculous power display. But seeing Huangpu Qingtian come crashing down, they panicked. Take cover. Every man for himself. Nobody wanted to get anywhere near this battle, not that they had the time. Boom. Huangpu Qingtian slammed into the ground, picking up dust and releasing a devastating shockwave. It blew apart 400 hapless people too slow to get away. The ground was now littered with pieces of them. Yu Yushan's trio watched from the air and gulped in fear. Why did they get the feeling that this plan to do Zhuo Fan in was in fact digging their own graves? Forget about that fiend. Look at us. Our side is about to collapse. Even their strongest, heaven-shaking Dragon Lord was getting his ass handed to him. Looking into the distance, Zhuo Fan's cold and aloof image was that of a thunder god. Yu Yushan's trio's courage faltered. Damn it all to hell. How do you beat that? Chapter 318, Dragon Vein Soul. Chapter 318, Dragon Vein Soul. Elite Coder. Who? The fierce wind picked up the dust and blocked everyone's sight. When it settled, they witnessed a bloodbath, dismembered bodies and mangled limbs. The 4 houses' vassals participating in this ambush numbered 10,000. Yet now less than a tenth remained. Even then, the lucky survivors were traumatized, running all over the place in fear, trying anything as long as it got them away from this hell. A shame there was no way out, not unless the 365 profound heaven experts opened the microcosmic orbit array with a bang. Huangpu Qingtian jumped out of the rubble, face bloody and enraged. Zhuo Fan was so heavy-handed that he had caved in the man's nose. People all around sighed. They had never seen the Grand Regent Estate's eldest young master beaten to such an extent, to the point he couldn't muster an ounce of strength to fight back. It was unprecedented. Everyone turned to Zhuo Fan in fear. Perhaps only soaring demonic dragon was capable of doing so much damage. Their dread only rose. Those geniuses from the 7 houses had it worse. Ever since Zhuo Fan showed up, all he ever did was bash these arrogant young masters and misses. They accepted Huangpu Qingtian being the strongest, since he was from Regent estate and all, the head of the houses. He was a monster through and through, while Zhuo Fan, well, the guy came from a third-rate clan. Yet he was the one who trampled all standards and obstacles with his power. It was the greatest form of ridicule. Long Jie and Long Kue were the most bitter the first time they met him. They recognized Zhuo Fan's talent, but looked down on his status. Regardless of how God-sent one's talent was, without a house behind him, he would never surpass them. Yet now, Zhuo Fan created miracles wherever he went. His current project involved brutalizing the strongest genius of the 7 houses, Huangpu Qingtian. His display gave each of them a resounding slap to the face, informing them who was the real hero here. Huff. Panting, Zhuo Fan's eyes steeled. He looked invincible in the eyes of others, but he knew himself best. Releasing all that purple lightning ate away at his body, and he was now seriously hurt. It was highly likely that he was going to collapse before he finished Huangpu Qingtian off, eldest young master. Yu Yushan's trio went to their master and helped him up. Seeing his disfigured face, they cried, "Eldest young master, the punk's power is out of this world. We have to fall back. He will kill us all at this rate." Bullshit. Flinging his arm to make his way through the trio, Huangpu Qingtian's rage grew stronger. As long as I'm here, failure is impossible. I've never known defeat in my entire life. The 3 felt conflicted and their faces fell. All they could do was shake their heads at the pig-headed Huangpu Qingtian dude. Take a good look at yourself and don't force the issue. So what if you always won? You are losing now, when it mattered. What else can you do when even the Earth-ranked martial art has failed? That punk is a monster among freaking monsters. How is he so powerful? Of course, they knew to keep their thoughts to themselves, lest they poke Huangpu Qingtian's ego and end up a smear on the ground along with the countless others. One thing was certain, though. The man's imposing air was gone. Zhuo Fan was too strong for them to cope with. Taking a deep breath to calm down somewhat, Huangpu Qingtian's eyes pondered. Then he came to a decision as he muttered, "No choice but to use that." "You still have a way, eldest young master?" The trio asked in unison. Huangpu Qingtian hesitated for a second, but the sight of the proud maniac who had reduced him to such a low state steeled his decision as he spoke defiantly, "I am invincible. No one can beat me. And you are no different." Huangpu Qingtian released a sound that shook the world. A golden dragon image flew out of his body and circled above him. Yu Yushan's trio cried out, What is that thing?" Long Xingyun cried out, "To this thing again?" What is Huangpu Qingtian growing within himself? He recalled perfectly how twice they had trapped Huangpu Qingtian. But this damn golden dragon ruined all their attempts. They took it for a martial art, but after careful inspection they found it to be something else. Fang Qiubai felt it was oddly familiar. He saw Huangpu Qingtian use it earlier when dealing with Chu Qingqing's trio, but that was in defense and it had only appeared for a brief second. Even he took it for a martial art, but seeing it circling above, like a real dragon, he began to pick up on the clues. Damn that bastard. Is he out of his mind bringing it out for everyone to see? Huangpu Tianyuan clenched his fists and raved. Regent Estate's elders were wiping their brows, looking around in fear of being overheard sighing. Long Wucheng shook his head. He won't be able to kill that freak otherwise. I only hope its appearance after 1,000 years won't have anyone here capable of recognizing it. The other Regent Estate clansmen nodded and rejoiced inside, not for long though. As Zhuo Fan's cold voice echoed in everyone's ears, "Dragon Vein Soul?" Frowning, Zhuo Fan turned grave. Huangpu Qingtian's face twitched, and he cursed inside. "Damn rotten punk. You actually recognize this 1,000-year-old relic?" Regent Estate's elders almost spat blood. They wished nothing more than to get in there and kill him on the spot. Blast it. How did a twerp like you find out about it? This is ridiculous. That was all Fang Qiubai needed as he slapped his head. He and Duge Zhantian shared a shocked look and barked, "Huangpu Tianyuan, your insolence knows no bounds. The imperial family ordered you to protect Caged Dragon City, yet you secretly took out the Dragon Vein Soul from the imperial family's Dragon Vein. Are you planning on revolting?" The people panicked. They had never seen Jade Flute Divine swords so outraged. The words Dragon Vein Soul had landed on deaf ears for many small clans, even a few first-rate ones. As for the leaders of the 6 houses, they paled and turned to Regent Estate in mute shock. Others next to them had no clue how dreadful the Dragon Vein Soul was, but being from the elite houses, they understood its importance. And that was what gave them the biggest shock. Regent Estate had the nerve to move a Dragon Vein Soul. Sweating buckets, Huangpu Tianyuan's heart was in his throat. Dragon Vein Soul was the imperial family's lifeline. It nurtured and brought prosperity to the Tianyu Empire. It was of national importance. Moving the Dragon Vein would bring about a huge change in the world. Even the third pillar, Parish's high priests, said those wielding the Dragon Vein held the fate of the land in their hands. This was why the Regent Estate was tasked with defending it first, because the Regent Estate and Tianyu's imperial family were related, worthy of trust. Secondly, only the 7 houses had the power to defend it and prevent any riots appearing from vying over it, but Huangpu Qingtian took it out before the whole crowd. That was the same as declaring the Regent Estate planned on using it for themselves, replacing the imperial family. This was a clear act of treason, and Divine Dragon Feng Qiubai had the right to destroy them where they stood. Regent Estate had yet to unite the 7 houses, and their power wasn't yet up to the challenge of facing the imperial family. If a war broke out, the Regent Estate was done for. Huangpu Tianyuan gnashed his teeth. Damn bastard. You're so blind to see the real picture, and yet you want to steal my position? How can you condemn the entire house over your disgrace? Even if you lost against that freak, that still doesn't give you the right to release the Dragon Vein Soul. Regent Estate's elders were on pins and needles. Huangpu Tianyuan took a deep breath and was about to bullshit his way out of this, but didn't get the chance. Lung Wucheng spoke calmly. Sir Feng, you are wrong. The Dragon Vein Soul is the foundation of our nation, but this does not, by any means, prove we wish to rebel. We are only following our duties based on His Majesty's decree. Did His Majesty tell you to take out the Dragon Soul for your own selfish use? Feng Qiubai spat. Humph, Sir Long. I know your mind is sharp and cunning, but you better give me a damn good reason why I shouldn't decorate Dragon Cloud City with your heads. There was widespread shock, with those in the dark, of the importance of Dragon Vein Soul, even more so the mighty Divine Dragon was going to slaughter the Regent Estate? Was the Emperor going to fight the 7 houses and plunge the nation into turmoil? Regent Estate's elders felt weak in their knees. Only Long Wucheng was the picture of calmness. Chapter 319, Demagogue. Chapter 319, Demagogue. Elite Coder. Lung Wucheng twirled his beard as his eyes swept the crowd, ultimately stopping at Feng Qiubai. Sir Feng, do you know what Regent Estate's duty is at Cage Dragon City? To protect the Dragon Vein. Feng Qiubai gave a flat reply, smiling. Lung Wucheng sneered. Do you know why we guard it then? Out of fear of being stolen, perhaps? Feng Qiubai stared back at him in silence. Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Tianyu's 9 dragons' Dragon Vein was sealed in Cage Dragon City by the first High Priest himself, for the future of the Empire and posterity. But the dragons within the Dragon Vein are a relentless force, and once they break the seal they would unleash endless death and destruction. The people would suffer and chaos would thrive. That is why Regent Estate was tasked with defending it. Rather than say it was to guard against greedy people, it was more in line to stop the Dragon Vein's collapse and ensuing devastation. The Prime Minister is precisely right. Lung Wucheng gave Zhuge Changfeng a half-bow, then turned to Feng Qiubai. The Dragon Vein is tyrannical. Only Tianyu's great ancestor could make one of the Dragon Souls accept him. After the great ancestor's death, none could make them submit, ultimately getting sealed in Cage Dragon City. Over the course of the millennium, there were many lusting for its power, but were devoured instead. Sir Feng stated that we have taken it out for our private use, which is absolutely ludicrous. If we were to give it to Sir Feng, would you accept it? In your capacity as a divine dragon, the peak of Tianyu's power, how confident are you of success? If not even Sir dares, how could we? Anger rose within Feng Qiubai, but he remained silent. The Dragon Vein Soul was a heaven and earth spiritual being that chose its master. Anyone that tried to claim it instead would find a swift and cruel ending, devoured whole. In other words, the Regent estate had no reason to take it out. And yet, glancing at the dragon soul next to Huangpu Qingtian, Fang Qiubai's eyes glinted. Then, Sir Long, explain to me why your dear eldest young master is currently in possession of it. Squinting, Lung Wucheng peeked at the national elemental stone, then smiled. What's to explain? The dragon soul has chosen its master. Isn't it obvious? Yu Fang Qiubai clenched his fists, boring holes into Long Wucheng with his glare. Long Wucheng's smile never faltered. Regent estate has always had peaceful and righteous people, facing any difficulties by ourselves, not willing to let the world see our suffering. But since Sir Fang insists on knowing, I will oblige you with explanation as to dispel any further misunderstandings. Lung Wucheng let out a pained sigh. It all began 24 years ago with 9 dragons' insurrection. Our venerables were unable to stop them, suffering heavy casualties. But we were blessed with an eldest young master that had outstanding talent. The dragon soul chose him as its master, sparing the world of its ire. Later we realized that it was impossible to seal it back again, and since it was calmly staying within the eldest young master, we simply let it be. If we forced it back into the seal, we feared the other 8 dragon souls would use this chance to escape as well, and that would spell doom for Tianyu. Lung Wucheng's speech was heartrending, subtly shifting the blame on the dragon soul's escape. He even embellished with the Regent estate suffering heavy casualties in an attempt to stop it. Thus, in a wonderful and convoluted way, he turned their treason into martyrdom. They had sacrificed so much to keep the dragon vein sealed. It would do them heavy injustice if the emperor would strike them in response. Fang Qiubai gnashed his teeth. What dragon vein insurrection? Am I to take your word for it? Who else but you know what the hell truly happened back then? You can say whatever you like at this point. It was because of this that the Regent estate stuck to their statement, it's all the dragon soul's fault. That they always only had the empire's safety at heart, but ended up unable to seal it back. Fang Qiubai couldn't do shit to them now. If the Regent estate was wiped out regardless, they would incur the wrath of the common people. And no one ever wanted to take responsibility for a possible civil war, now did they? Fang Qiubai took a deep breath. Why weren't we informed? Informed? Lung Wucheng sneered and sighed. Sir Fang, as a court official, couldn't you tell? It would invite suspicion, and who knew how twisted the truth would become? The circumstances today had forced me to reveal it to Sir Fang. We hoped to have endured this disaster in silence, and only mourn our heavy losses in our hearts. We'd rather brave through the pain and torment than receive suspicion and undue disrespect for what was only expected of us. Zhuge Changfeng slipped a giggle and shook his head. Lung Wucheng was a true wordsmith. He showed they were ever devoted, bearing through any pain, while also cursing the emperor on the sly for casting suspicion on its loyal subjects. Harming them now would make the imperial family the bad guy here and criticized for harming their patriots. It would ultimately end with the imperial family losing the people's favor, and that wasn't even half of it. Lung Wucheng twisted it all up by saying that the dragon soul broke the seal and accepted Huangpu Qingtian as its master. That was the same as saying he truly was God-sent as the world's rightful king, with the only man in Tianyu's history capable of having a dragon soul being none other than Tianyu's first emperor. That lifted Huangpu Qingtian to the same status. What further proof was needed? It also worked to plant the seed in the hearts of the people that the Huangpu clan of Regent estate would replace Tianyu's Yuan clan in ruling the empire, but with Lung Wucheng not stating it, Fang Qiubai couldn't exactly point it out either. His only choice was to seethe in silence. Regent estate elders' worry was now replaced with full-blown conceit, arrogance, being stuck up the usual. Sir Long is a true demagogue. Fang Qiubai snorted. Lung Wucheng raised his head and waved. You give me too much credit. I am only stating the facts, ha ha ha. Fang Qiubai faltered and turned to look at the arrogant figure within the national elemental stone with killing intent. Lung Wucheng may have preached all he wanted, but Huangpu Qingtian's death was guaranteed in his eyes. The third pillar's prophecy had never been wrong. The one to have the Dao Dragon would have the world. Since the brat has a dragon soul, then he might obtain the whole dragon vein. That will spell the end of Tianyu's imperial family. He noticed how the eyes of the rest changed when they looked at Huangpu Qingtian. They may even be hailing him as their rightful king. A bad sign indeed. Only Luo Yunchong, and the rest stared at the national elemental stone with worry. Huangpu Qingtian had the dragon soul's help, providence as he said, by his side. Zhuo Fan may be stronger, but how was he going to defeat the king handpicked by fate? Huangpu Qingtian was under the dragon soul's protection, taking a deep breath. Zhuo Fan stared at his opponent, knowing this as well, just that he didn't place 2 cents on some flimsy reason as providence or whatnot. Moreover, his blood infant wasn't the least bit inferior to the dragon vein soul, much better in fact. As blood infant had a far sharper mind. It was the symbol of a true king, with it roaming around Huangpu Qingtian and defending him. It's going to make things hard. Spitting blood, Zhuo Fan frowned as his heart sank. He had released too much purple lightning, and his body couldn't take it anymore. It was now or never. Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth and charged, all or nothing. Oh, you dare come at me knowing full well what dragon vein soul can do? Die then. Huangpu Qingtian saw Zhuo Fan ready for battle and shouted, not even father could subdue the dragon soul while I did it in my childhood. Do you know what that means? I am God's gift to the world. You are not fighting me but fate, heaven itself. The only outcome you'll have from it is death. Huangpu Qingtian spoke with such complete confidence, self-conceit, and presence, as if he was an emperor rebuking a peasant. Yu Yushan's trio by his side basked in the leftover pride, making full use of their connection. They were destined to be officials, those watching the national elemental stone side. With the dragon soul taken out, they had written Zhuo Fan off. Who could fight against heaven? Zhuo Fan gave a snort instead. No wonder those blood crocs listened to you. So that's your spiel. Dragon vein soul is the lord over the earth that no one dares disobey. A king's right indeed, providence even. Your point being? Purple lightning flickered all over Zhuo Fan as he gathered all his power and shouted, I am soaring demonic dragon. I will ascend the 9 heavens if I have to. Don't ever think your puny earth dragon king, a crownless dragon, can stand in my way. This painted shock on everyone's faces. Providence declared through its agent, the dragon vein soul, who was king. But Zhuo Fan wasn't buying it. He would have disgraced his soaring demonic dragon title if he did. He feared nothing, not even heaven. Huangpu Qingtian shuddered, his eyes bloodshot. He could accept the earlier defiance. But now he had displayed the dragon vein soul's approval, and yet this ant still dared to look down on him? Huangpu Qingtian had long passed the limits of his patience. From an early age he knew that he was the one destined to have the dragon vein, the royal throne offered to him on a silver platter. Every man, including his father, had to bow before him. Zhuo Fan knew this and showed not an ounce of respect. Enraging him further, the one thing his entire pride relied on was looked down at with such scorn that it was a heavy blow to his self-esteem. As if to say he was king above all, but always beneath Zhuo Fan. His fist tightened and he roared, Then I shall take heaven's stead in eradicating the world of an ant daring to defy a king's authority. Huangpu Qingtian clawed, 9 dragons diamond body, earth dragon empowered claw. As the dragon's soul took flight, the earth quaked and a surge of incredible might rose up from underground. Chapter 320, Heaven-devouring Thunder Phoenix. Chapter 320, Heaven-devouring Thunder Phoenix. Elite Coder. Roar. The dragon roars might buckled the world itself, followed shortly by the dragon soul ascending to the 9th heaven. Then plunging back into the earth below, the ground quaked and beast roars resounded. The terrible power came from the souls and worked its way up into the body of everyone, scaring them in body and mind. Then a beast's head came out of the ground and swallowed them whole. Zhuo Fan frowned. The 9 dragons' diamond body was an earth-ranked martial art at its base, and the dragon vein soul was a lord of the land as well. With them combined, the martial art had its power doubled, truly capable of ripping the world asunder. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and the roaming purple lightning around him focused, ready for the final strike rumble. The earth literally exploded as the golden dragon, 300 meters long, shot from underground, aiming for Zhuo Fan. Its fangs and claws bared, setting itself up to tear into heavens themselves if it had to roar. With another dragon roar, the dragon's might descended, reaching Zhuo Fan 1,000 meters away. The man was shocked. He had a guess it would be strong, but not this much. The dragon held enough power to write off any radiant stage expert on the spot. Gu Santong and divine dragons, not included, the onlookers gasped, their very core shaking in fear. How can a pre-radiant stage expert hold enough power to destroy everything? Yu Yushan's trio were doing a victory dance as they laughed. Such power. I knew the eldest young master was heaven's greatest gift on earth. He is invincible beneath heaven. That punk can be all heaven-defying he wants, but not even he can match up to the eldest young master. Here, the punk is done for. Ha ha ha. The trio were having the time of their lives with their early celebration. They had invested so much blood and sweat into this, lost so many men, and now it had finally paid off. Only Chu Qingcheng and company were shaking at the mighty display. Worry gnawed at their conscience as tears fell down unabated. Feng Qiubai's eyes shrank and he sighed. The dragon vein soul is a true match for an earth-ranked martial art. Such power makes the outcome obvious. Huangpu Qingtian truly is the first in his generation. The rest nodded as well. They turned in the direction the golden dragon was charging to see a man wrapped in purple lightning standing there with his back straight, his gaze hard. He was dauntless in the face of danger. Earning no few size, Zhuo would have beaten Huangpu Qingtian if they were going by talent alone. But the sudden reveal of Dragon Vein Soul, of Providence's machinations, left all taking his demise with pity. No mortal could defy heaven's will. The people were already lamenting, writing Zhuo off as he was receiving the capital punishment for his transgression. Yet Zhuo's eyes never lost their light. His fighting spirit burned hot against adversity. To him, the dragon vein soul was a mere spirit born of this world, albeit a pretty strong one. Yet it had no damn relation with Providence and the likes. Even if true Providence descended. As long as I am the stronger one, let heaven make you a god in this world, but it still won't save you from me. Zhuo's eyes steeled and his hands made a sign. Ha ha ha. Zhuo, heaven made me king, the new world order. You dare go against me, and you shall die for defying heaven. You shall die just because I wish it. It is the will of heaven, your fate. Huangpu Qingtian cackled, drunk on power and megalomania. This nemesis that had defied him for so long would finally meet his end. Who wouldn't be happy? Zhuo's face was cold, his eyes flashing purple, his hands making the signs as he shouted, "Screw you. I alone decide my fate. The one to die is you." Zhuo then roared wraith-style. Third move, Necrodragon Screech. Roar. An earth-shaking dragon roar pierced the clouds and a pulse spread from Zhuo's mouth. Huangpu Qingtian mocked. A trifling profound ranked sound martial art? How can it stand up to my dragon soul, an earth-ranked martial art? Humph, I get it. You are on your last leg, the desperate attempt of a hopeless fool. Humph, to deal with the dragon vein soul. A soul-based martial art is all I need. Not to mention, this isn't your average sound martial art. You think you're the only one who can boost a martial art? Zhuo's grin turned sinister. Huangpu Qingtian doubled back, and before he could react, the damage was done. Zhuo's roar moved slowly towards the golden dragon, only to explode 100 meters from it. When the sound dissipated, purple lighting surged in its wake, spreading like wildfire and taking the form of 100-meter-long purple lightning bird. The purple lightning crackled in every direction, its power bearing down on the incoming golden dragon. Huangpu Qingtian cried, "What is that?" "Your doom." Zhuo's face split into a grin as he was reeling, about to collapse. This last move had him spent, but it still couldn't wipe the savage smirk from his lips. While you used your dragon soul to add to your martial arts power, what stops me from infusing my entire purple lightning into the sound wave? Huangpu Qingtian's face twitched. How can purple lightning ever match my dragon soul? Dragon vein soul is a king symbol that no being in this world dares defy. Your purple lightning is nothing. It isn't even conscious. Dragon vein soul, shred him. Roar. Huangpu Qingtian's words set the golden dragon into a frenzy, charging for Zhuo. Its vicious face set to tear all who opposed it. The earth-ranked martial art, topped with dragon vein soul, actually had a mind of its own. Following Huangpu Qingtian's order, Zhuo watched it all with a sneer. Purple lightning is beneath the dragon soul? Humph, ignorant fool. Zhuo didn't know where the purple lightning came from, but it had the potential to kill a sacred beast, not to mention, Zhuo Fan had added a little something to it. A trace of azure flame. It wasn't as overbearing as the purple lightning, but it had a spark of intelligence. Each time Zhuo Fan was in dire straits, the azure flame would come out and shield him from harm. Zhuo Fan had done this so that the Thunderbird would gain the azure flame's awareness. Zhuo Fan pointed, his bloodthirst exploding in his roar. Kill him. Earth-ranked martial art? Heaven-devouring Thunder Phoenix. Correct, an Earth-ranked martial art. With the purple lightning and a bit of azure flame, the profound ranked martial art was forcefully upgraded to a new rank. The Thunderbird cried out at his order. Shooting forth golden light erupted as the dragon roared and purple lightning scalded the heavens in an unbridled display of raw power. The people below saw a dragon and a Thunderbird clash in an apocalyptic explosion, ringing their ears, and then it happened under the Thunderbird's purple lightning explosion. The dragon began to crumble, inch by inch, as it dissolved into golden specks. With a cry of pain, the golden dragon soul left the huge dragon and fled for Huangpu Qingtian. The purple Thunderbird had scared the dragon vein soul off. How is this possible? Huangpu Qingtian's jaw hit the floor. His eyes bulged out. Others didn't fare any better. Holy hell! Dragon vein soul, you're supposed to be a lord of the land, its king. What are you doing getting scared of a silly flickering bird? Where has your rampant attitude gone? Your master had even bragged about you being his royal symbol. The scared dragon vein soul's reply to their thoughts would be a round of abuse. You know shit. I am the king of the land, but that thing is the king of the skies. What else am I to do but run? Ignorant whelps. Stop spewing crap when you know nothing of the world's inner workings. I am born of the earth, but that thing is born of the world. We are light years apart. Not that any side knew any of this, of course. It was just that their minds were blown away, seeing the dragon vein soul running away with its tail between its legs. Their brains went out of commission. Dragon vein soul ain't so tough after all. Fang Qiubai watched it all bleary-eyed. The Thunderbird flew at Huangpu Qingtian. Its eyes filled with killing intent, just like Zhuo Fan's. How could this be? Gnashing his teeth, Huangpu Qingtian was still in denial. The dragon vein soul, the cornerstone of his pride and joy, of his very existence, was scared off by some purple lightning. What is that lightning that is able to scare the king of the land? He didn't have the time to ponder such philosophical questions, though. The Thunderbird was coming in for the kill. Chapter 321, At Death's Door. Chapter 321, At Death's Door. Elite Coder. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes showed fear for the first time. The dreadful aura of the Thunderbird posed a definite and tangible threat to his life. This hadn't been brought about before, not even when Zhuo Fan was bashing him around. Because he had a fallback, the dragon vein soul, he was destined to rule, heaven's gift on earth, with no man capable of defeating him. And yet, run. Yu Yushan's trio knew the tables had turned. The Thunderbird was a very real danger to anything in existence. The 6 dragons and 1 phoenix were no exception, ending up as nothing more than bone meal. That prediction had them running frantically for their lives. Funnily enough, their grand boss was doing the same thing for the first time ever. Not that it would do much good at this late an hour. They barely added 100 meters between them when the Thunderbird flapped its crackling wings and was upon Huangpu Qingtian. Huangpu Qingtian was traumatized. Facing this world destroyer and its all-powerful aura, all he could do was shout, "Transformation, Earth Dragon Claw." A flash of golden light shone, and his entire right arm was enveloped in light among the dragon roars. It was at this instant that the Thunderbird ran into him. The berserk purple lightning pulverized anything it touched. Boom. The sky itself turned purple from the sheer magnitude of the blast. Purple lightning spread like wildfire, catching the 3 slowpokes and sending them sprawling. Heavily wounded, the array holding Zhuo Fan prisoner began to shake for the first time. The 365 profound heaven experts spat blood at the same time. Weakened, everyone was shocked at how the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, the peak of power in the profound heaven stage, couldn't even take on the afterblast of the Thunderbird. The microcosmic orbit array, said to contain even a radiant stage expert, suffered under the tyrannical purple lightning. Every one of the 365 profound heaven experts controlling it were left with heavy wounds. The power of the Thunderbird was obvious. They all watched the thick dust. Eyes widened. Not even Regent Estate could contain the shock they felt. Who could conceive it possible for Zhuo Fan to employ such power to annihilate everyone? What then of Huangpu Qingtian, who took the full blast? Everyone watched the screen with bated breath. Zhuo Fan spurted blood, and the lightning faded from his body, focusing all the purple lightning into one blow and forcing a profound ranked martial art to go a rank higher had left him teetering on the edge of collapse. His body was far too weak to handle an earth-ranked martial art, or he'd have already trained in one. But to defeat Huangpu Qingtian, he threw caution to the wind and used every ounce of his strength. This left him on the brink of destruction. Zhuo Fan was now weaker than your average bone-tempering expert. Even after killing Huangpu Qingtian, he would still be in danger on Beast King Mountain, though he wasn't of a mind to care. As long as Huangpu Qingtian was dead and done, nothing else mattered. Narrowing his eyes, Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and moved, slowly, towards the cloud of dust. All that purple lightning did a number on his body, with no less than 20 wounds on his body, deep enough to show the bone. His staggering walk was that of a demon from hell. Yushan's trio were shaken to their core. They tried to get away, but any movement only aggravated their injuries. They were going nowhere fast. They could only stare at the demon trudging towards them. Damn it! The 300 people outside. Release the damn array, and come save us. Yushan shouted. Yin Bangyi and Lin Xianfeng did the same. Release the array already. The hellish image had them traumatized and horrified to the point of peeing themselves. The viewers watched it all in heavy silence. Try as he might, he was too weak to even dodge, but he was still defiant, gnashing his teeth and gathering the last vestige of power. Wraith Style's second move, Ghostly Dragon Claw. Roar. A dragon roar began but was cut off. Huangpu Qingtian's own claw had a firm grip on the enemy's claw, not a chance. Zhuo Fan's last act scared him. Huangpu Qingtian no longer looked at Zhuo Fan with the usual haughty attitude. Instead, he looked at him with fear. Zhuo Fan was the first to ever shake him so much. So for the first time, he went all out. He felt Zhuo Fan was at his weakest moment, on his deathbed, but against Zhuo Fan he would never feel safe until the very last breath left his body. Huangpu Qingtian wailed and ripped Zhuo Fan's right arm clean off. Blood spurted like a fountain, and Luo Yunchang cried in fear. Zhuo Fan's eyes bulged out and his features twisted. But he pushed through the pain and pierced at Huangpu Qingtian with his wings, despite how hopeless it was. Chapter 322 Fleeing. Chapter 322 Fleeing. Elite Coder. Clang. A metallic screech was heard as the lightning wings struck the claw Huangpu Qingtian easily used to defend, panting. Huangpu Qingtian tightened his claw, staring Zhuo Fan in the eye. Zhuo Fan met his gaze, bewildered. Why couldn't the lightning wings pierce it? I told you. You have no chance. Huangpu Qingtian's face twisted with savagery and tore off one of Zhuo Fan's wings. Blood spurted from his back and Zhuo Fan broke out in sweat, falling down. The pain in his back blinded him for a moment, but he gnashed his teeth through the pain. Luo Yunchang cried out, tears falling like a river. The other women turned their heads away. They couldn't bear to watch, yet their eyelids never stopped trembling. Zhuo Fan shook from the pain. He made a fist, wanting to get up with his only arm, but Huangpu Qingtian stomped on his other wing. Looking down on him, the savage dragon claw slowly lifted him up. Game over. The punk is done for. Long Wuchang sighed. Despite the stunned face he pulled, that was too close. I didn't foresee the punk having so much of that strange purple lightning. If not for the eldest young master having that last move, I fear everything would have been in vain. Regent Estate's glory would have hit rock bottom and the vassals would no longer worship us. He saw that the others now looked at the crippled Zhuo Fan with worry and lamentation, as if to say, fighting Regent Estate was fighting heaven. The only outcome was death. Long Wuchang was pleased. This was exactly what he wanted. Zhuge Changfeng looked on with regret. A pity. With the kid's power, if he just wasn't so hot-blooded and lost his mind, he would have had an even chance at victory. Ha, Prime Minister. Is this how you work? There are no ifs in this world. Failure means annihilation. Lung Wucheng smiled at him. Zhuge Chongfeng's eyes glinted. I only mourn the loss of a talent. A pity for him to go down this way. Naturally, he only has himself to blame for this outcome. The Prime Minister is most right. We, the schemers, fear becoming berserk ourselves and digging our own graves. Lung Wucheng and Zhuge Chongfeng shared a look, then laughed. On the battlefield, a shadow watched it all from a corner, finding himself at an impasse out of Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingtian. He only wanted the strongest. And although they were equally powerful, Zhuo Fan had the greater potential, but now Zhuo Fan had lost and was about to die. Should he go save him? Sigh. Everything's so twisted. A headhunter feared not searching the world for thousands of miles yet to come out empty, but being forced to choose one of two prized horses. It's too vexing. But soon, the shadow came to a decision. He wanted the strongest. That hadn't changed. Zhuo Fan had the greatest potential, but defeat spoke by itself. He didn't pity him regardless of how great the kid was. Huff. Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingtian were panting, staring at each other in hatred. They both were spin of Yuan Qi, body riddled with wounds. But it was obvious that Zhuo Fan was far worse for wear. Zhuo Fan, your very existence is a threat to me. You must die. Huangpu Qingtian moved a trembling dragon claw and aimed for Zhuo Fan's chest. Squinting, Zhuo Fan's blood bubbled from his right arm and his back, his face ashen, but the fire in his eyes burnt strong. Huangpu Qingtian, you will die for touching Ninger. Oh, really? And how are you going to do that from under my heel? Huangpu Qingtian mocked. Huangpu Qingtian's heart seized the next second. He could see Zhuo Fan had no intention of dying, but he looked back like a wild animal ready to tear into him. There's still some fight left in him. Huangpu Qingtian's unease only grew. Even if he dismembered Zhuo Fan, as long as the man's eyes burned, the threat still existed. With a roar, Huangpu Qingtian stabbed his claw at Zhuo Fan's heart. Ah! With a cry, Luo Yunchong could no longer bear to watch. Fang Qiubai squinted, overwhelmed by anxiety. Zhuo Fan's death proclaims the Regent estate as the winner. It will only make them stronger. Kid, you must live at all costs. Fang Qiubai shouted inside Divine Eye of the Void's second stage, Void Annihilation. As Huangpu Qingtian's claw inched forward, Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed with two golden halos and space warped. Huangpu Qingtian's claw would take Zhuo Fan's heart at this rate, but so too would Void Annihilation punch a hole through the enemy's chest. It truly was a life for a life, but Zhuo Fan still had Blood Infant. As long as Blood Infant was in his blood, even without a heart, he wouldn't die. For him, it was more of a heavy wound in exchange for a life. Even though Huangpu Qingtian was oblivious to these subtleties, he still didn't find it worth it to go down like this. Startled by the warped space, Huangpu Qingtian dodged and his claw stabbed the ground next to Zhuo Fan. They both get to live a while longer, yet Void Annihilation brushed past Huangpu Qingtian's left arm and peeled his flesh. Blood oozed out like water. Huangpu Qingtian had no time to react as Void Annihilation continued on its path and smashed into the array. Boom. Like a hole punched through the sky, the sixth great array, Microcosmic Orbit Array, shattered. The 365 profound heaven experts acting as the core of the array died on the spot. They spurted up blood. Their eyes rolled into their heads and they breathed their last. What just happened? Huangpu Qingtian looked at the wound on his arm, then at the crumbling array, but was left dumbfounded. He had no idea what had occurred. All that he knew was that Zhuo Fan landed a sneak attack on him, but how could a mere sneak attack be so powerful? Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth in hatred. He's still alive. Since he had failed, Zhuo Fan knew Huangpu Qingtian had to be on guard and a second chance wouldn't come. With his last attempt failing, he was all out of means to catch Huangpu Qingtian unaware. I have no choice but to use my last plan. Humph, Lung Wucheng, I didn't think it was you in the end who managed to outplay me. You may be the unwanted contriver, but not even you could foresee my last resort. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and he ignored the pain as he moved, ripping his last wing that Huangpu Qingtian had pinned down. Huangpu Qingtian cried inside. He wants to run. And he pierced the dragon claw at Zhuo Fan's throat, just as Zhuo Fan vanished through the use of shift with the array gone. Zhuo Fan had regained his freedom, and no one could stop him now. Void Annihilation overcame the flaw of Divine Eye of the Void's first stage by breaking any restrictions. Zhuo Fan didn't use it all this time because he had no intention of escaping. Hellbent on finishing off Huangpu Qingtian, the array had him trapped, but so too was Huangpu Qingtian. He could have run away anytime, anyway, something that Huangpu Qingtian wasn't privy to, and not even Long Wucheng predicted this. It was unclear at this point who played who. Whoosh. Zhuo Fan flashed 1,000 meters away and took out Shower from the ring. He had it carry him as it flew away. Not a moment too soon as Zhuo Fan blacked out, Huangpu Qingtian took a few steps after him and spat blood. He glanced at the flesh gouged from his left arm, seeping blood, then at the hellscape around him, littered with broken corpses. They had 10,000 men, paid such a heavy price and still couldn't finish the job. The frustration fueled his raging howl. Fong Qiubai eased his breath. Noon expected the kid to break the array. He had them scared. Long Wucheng was stunned inside. The kid is far more treacherous than I gave him credit for. Sir Long, it seems to me the kid has escaped with his life and your meticulous planning failed. Ha ha ha, Zhuge Chongfeng laughed. Long Wucheng shook his head. He didn't look too pleased, yet his voice was calm. Prime Minister, I thank you for your concern. The kid had exceeded my calculations, but I have taken this outcome into account. With him on his deathbed, he is like a fish in a barrel, waiting to be squashed. Don't get so confident, Sir Long. The kid is a true miracle worker. Ha ha, Zhuge Chongfeng mocked. Long Wucheng fell silent, but his eyes were completely focused on the national elemental stone, waiting for the next plan to come into play. Chapter 323, The Future is Ours. Chapter 323, The Future is Ours. Elite Coder. Caw. In the glow of the twilight sun, cawing entered the ears of the people there. As a murder of crows circled the bloodbath, Huangpu Qingtian stared in Zhuo Fan's last direction. Panting and frustrated, he had prepared the ambush, put so much effort into it, only to be routed and failing to take Zhuo Fan's life. Such disgrace lowered his royal prestige in the public's eye. What right did he have now to go vie for his father's position after such a gruesome slaughter? Ah! Huangpu Qingtian vented his frustration by wailing. The regret and anger only festered in his core. The crows landing nearby flew away, startled. Yu Yushan's trio was grounded and unable to move. Watching Huangpu Qingtian's irritation, they knew when to keep to themselves, afraid they'd direct his anger on themselves. Eldest young master, a weak voice ventured. Looking over, they saw Yin Fu bringing a dozen survivors of vassal clans, fear clearly painted on his face, snapping his eyes on him. Huangpu Qingtian spat, "Humph, such fortune upon you. So many have died, along with hundreds of profound heaven experts, but you, bone-tempering fools, and Yin Fu, the ants, still breathe." Yin Fu and the others shuddered, but he was the first to fall to his knees, followed by the rest. Their heads lowered, silent as the grave. "Eldest young master, forgive us. That monster put fear into us, and we escaped before the array was activated." So you lived? Huangpu Qingtian sneered. Yin Fu trembled, nodding stiffly. Huangpu Qingtian only had contempt for them, but Yin Bongyi's round of abuse cut him off before he could continue. "Yin Fu, you are the stain of Pilking Hall. That monster killed your master, and when you had the chance to ambush him, what did you do? You chose the path of a sniveling coward." "Eldest young master, I failed to teach my junior brother proper manners. If you want to punish him, you may go ahead and even kill this disgrace to avoid shaming us further." Yin Bongyi barked. Yin Fu gulped, shivering from fear yet hatred growing inside him. It wasn't as much chastising but more for the sake of the audience of Hall Lord Yin Bagong, with everyone running away in fear just now. If Huangpu Qingtian were to think of killing them, who was there to stop him? Even if they were killed out in the open, would Pilking Hall seek Regent estate for justice? Absolutely not. That in turn would make the world look down on Pilking Hall, and this was where Yin Bongyi's words came into play. By mocking Yin Fu, he saved the face of Pilking Hall, letting Huangpu Qingtian vent, while also giving Regent estate a resounding round of ass-kissing, showing his endless devotion towards Regent estate. In the case Huangpu Qingtian killed Yin Fu then and there, he'd be safe. since Pilking Hall now authorized Huangpu Qingtian to deal with the main offender regardless of the outcome. Pilking Hall's honor was safeguarded, and the two houses would never be closer, all at the low price of throwing Yin Fu to the wolf, and that wasn't even the best part. Yin Bagong would definitely reward him for having saved Pilking Hall's honor. Yin Fu's rage only grew inside him, but he still laid there waiting. Huangpu Qingtian glanced at Yin Bangyi, aware of his ploy, then smiled. It's fine. We have lost too many in this battle, and we need all the help we can get. We can't just have Yin Fu, a rare alchemist, killed. It will be of great help to us now that he's alive. Eldest young master's mercy knows no bounds. Let me express 1,000 thanks in my junior brother's stead. Yin Bangyi put on the good guy act, then berated. Yin Fu, what are you gawking at? Thank the eldest young master for his mercy. It is all thanks to the eldest young master's infinite generosity that I don't have you punished as well. Yin Fu groaned, wishing nothing more than to give the man a few slaps. You threw me away, my own clansman, not even pleading for me, and now you're acting the savior? Even going as far as asking me for thanks? As if Huangpu Qingtian respects you so much that he spared my life. Humph, just you wait. I'll be sure to return the favor. Don't you worry. And yet Yin Fu's face was filled with respect and gratitude. Thank you, eldest young master, for your mercy. Thank you, senior brother, for your care. Nodding, the two accepted in glee, putting on the face of chastising naughty children. What are the rest of you standing around for? Look after their injuries. Huangpu Qingtian pointed at Yu Yushan's trio. Yin Fu nodded, taking first a pill for Huangpu Qingtian. Then he and the rest went to nurse the other three. Huangpu Qingtian nodded at Yin Fu's meek figure. The kid has good eyes to know who gets the first pill. But then Huangpu Qingtian sighed over the biggest worry, letting Zhuo Fan escape. It would be hard looking for him in the wide expanse of Beast King Mountain. Huangpu Qingtian scowled and took out a jade slip. It was the last jade slip Lung Wuchang gave him, warning him repeatedly to never open it unless he ran out of options. The state he was in wasn't just out of options. Even with 1,000 ways, he still wouldn't have anything remotely good he could use. With Zhuo Fan's cunning, the same trick wouldn't work twice, not to mention he had no clue where to even begin the search. Sighing, Huangpu Qingtian paused in hesitation, then ultimately read the jade slip. Just what could Sir Long have prepared in this late hour? What ingenious trick could we use? Finished reading the jade slip, his eyes shined and he laughed. I see it now. Sir Long is a true mastermind to take even that into account. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan. No matter how sly you are, you shall never escape my grasp. A brimming sacred pill? The faint sound behind him caught his undivided attention. Huangpu Qingtian whipped his head to see Yin Fu trembling and facing away from everyone. The excitement got to him as he shouted, Yin Fu, what are you doing? Nothing. Yin Fu stiffly turned around to show a painful smile while hiding his hand behind him, squinting. Huangpu Qingtian said coldly, what are you holding? Show it to me. Sweating buckets, Yin Fu hesitated for a long time before putting on a smile and presenting a storage ring with both hands. Congratulations, eldest young master. I found the brimming sacred pills, all 4 of them. Where? Huangpu Qingtian's eyes shined as he snatched the rings. Emptying them, he was looking at 4 vials in his palm. The brimming sacred pills. Yin Fu pointed at an arm soaked in blood. I took it from that arm. I thought, isn't that Zhuo Fan's arm? Huangpu Qingtian stared Yin Fu down. You found it quite fast and even knew it was his. Were you perhaps watching our fight, waiting for the right moment to steal our things? Eldest young master, I would never even dream of it. Yin Fu fell to his knees in fear. Wouldn't dream of it? Huangpu Qingtian had a sinister smile as he eyed the 4 vials. Then how do you explain the missing seals from all 4 of the vials? Did you plan on switching the pills? Is that it? Huangpu Qingtian used discerning field on the spot, only relaxing when he found the genuine goods in the vials. Yin Fu was scared to death and pleaded, eldest young master, please, I only wanted to confirm they were real. As an alchemist, I just couldn't help but want to see an 8th grade pill. The hard stare was making him sweat buckets. Huangpu Qingtian spoke. Listen here, leave the others' possessions alone for now. The only items you are ever allowed to use are those I give you. You aren't even allowed to look, understand? Why yes, I shall take it to heart, eldest young master. Yin Fu bobbed his head grinning. Huangpu Qingtian gave a pleased nod. Then he turned to the somewhat recovered trio and showed them the pills. See that? I told you. All the pills I lost will one day return to me. Brimming sacred pill. The three perked up. Huangpu Tianyuan was moved. He was worried that the rotten bastard would only go after one, but instead he had obtained all four. With such a fortune, he, the estate lord, would surely get one as well. The smile had yet to reach his eyes as he watched Huangpu Qingtian share the three pills with his allies. The three looked at him, puzzled. Huangpu Qingtian snickered. Take it and let's go hunt down Zhuo Fan together. What? The three were stunned. The brimming sacred pill was as rare as it got. Yet Huangpu Qingtian was just going to hand it over? Huangpu Tianyuan went slack-jawed. Since when is that brat so generous? You should keep them to yourself when it counts the most. If you ever feel like being generous, do that in your own house, not with some brats. Snorting, Huangpu Qingtian could tell what they were thinking and said, remember this well. The future of the world is ultimately ours. Chapter 324, Every Trick in the Book. Chapter 324, Every Trick in the Book. The future is ours. Those simple words had their ambition grow unchecked. Yu Yushan's trio looked at Huangpu Qingtian's smile and felt the brimming sacred pill in their hand, heavy as empty the pill, and those words were the perfect sales pitch. He said the same thing to all 6 dragons and 1 phoenix before the wood exit, that they held the future in their grasp. They would soon surpass their own house lords and their glory, and now that they took his offered pill, they agreed to be wholly on Huangpu Qingtian's side. They would follow him blindly from now on, and the house's structure and interest would change as a result. This implied that when they became house lords, they would still align with Huangpu Qingtian and listen to his orders. This single brimming sacred pill represented not just their allegiance, but their houses as well, and everything that came along with it. Their forces, their wealth, their souls. Huangpu Qingtian's plan of roping in the 3 future house lords was far more ingenious than how Huangpu Tianyuan earned the current house lord's favor. As long as the 3 held him in the highest regard, so too would the future 3 houses. Whether or not the 3 current house lords would object by writing them off as inheritors, Huangpu Qingtian wasn't the least bit worried. Once these 3 became his men, they would have Regent estate behind them, and Regent estate would do all in its power to get them the house lord position. If those geezer were tired of living, they were most welcome to refuse. Yu Yushan's trio looked at each other in sorrow, feeling the weight of the pill growing by the second. They were over the moon having gotten the brimming sacred pill, albeit at the price of betraying their own house. But if they refused, how would Huangpu Qingtian react? The 3 were pulled from 2 directions, but soon came to a decision and bowed. We thank the eldest young master for his generosity. Today's decision had sealed the fate and future of their houses in one direction, as vassals. But refusing it would most likely end with them buried on this mountain. Tallying up both choices' ups and downs, the 3 favored satisfying their own interests. So what if they defected their clans in front of everyone? As long as the Regent estate had their backs, their own house lords and elders wouldn't even touch them. Not to mention their house lord position was guaranteed. It was just about being Huangpu Qingtian's loyal dog. How bad could it be? Then again, they'd be below 1 man, but lords over the masses. At that time, a mere hint of accusing them for this decision would earn the offender a quick trip 6 feet under. That worked to calm their worries, and they showed pure respect. Huangpu Qingtian nodded and laughed. Ha ha ha. Twitching, Huangpu Tianyuan watched the wise and powerful son of his, while cackling with a mask of rage. Looking at the 3 house lords, he saw the glum hanging heavy on their faces. Huangpu Qingtian not only carried out the Regent estate's plan to unify the houses, but spurred the juniors to fight for their elders' power. Even a blind man could see Huangpu Qingtian was strengthening his position for when the time came to take his father's place. Be that as it may, Regent estate's plan to unite the houses without conflict was of far greater benefit. Regent estate's elders were totally for it. Evident by their prideful looks, Regent estate's house lord status was reserved for the most capable. The father and son could fight all they wanted, as long as the future lord worked for the better of Regent estate. And watching Huangpu Qingtian employ hidden schemes and tricks along with the power invested in him, just like a true emperor, the elders loved him even more. Who would blame him now for calling them geezers? As long as you can make the Regent estate thrive for thousands of years, you can even call us a bag of bones. Huangpu Tianyuan eyed the prideful elders behind him and sighed dejected. If this keeps up, the brat will soon come back with Zhuo Fan's head and earn great merit. Higher than anyone. And what will become of me then? Squinting, Huangpu Tianyuan could no longer bear the stress and frustration and said, Sir Long, how sure are you of your plan to finish Zhuo Fan off? If it were anyone else, I'd guarantee it right away. But with how crafty he is, I can only go as far as 90%. Lung Wuchang spoke lightly. Huangpu Tianyuan's heart froze. Such assurance is insane. The man was now worried for Zhuo Fan's fate, and for the first time, resenting Lung Wuchang's sharp mind. Just what plan do you have to be so certain? Is there anyone out there able to survive you? An ant, perhaps? Sighing, Huangpu Tianyuan's mood sank into the pits of despair. Lung Wuchang smiled and sighed. He knew fully well the thoughts this house lord had, but didn't mind them in the least. His genius mind was a rarity in this world. No matter what house lord took office in Regent estate, it wouldn't change a thing. He would still be their right-hand man or left-hand man. All because of his strength. This was why he did not care what Huangpu Tianyuan thought. Zhuo Fan was the only one on his mind right now. Zhuo Fan was the first ever to have escaped his foolproof plans. He found it impossible to gauge Zhuo Fan's actions, and this unwanted contriver felt the same threat he felt from Zhuge Changfeng in this. Huangpu Qingtian and his interests were aligned, to end Zhuo Fan. All right, now that you've made your decision, hurry and take it. After you enter the Radiant stage, we will go hunt that pest down. Huangpu Qingtian smiled at the trio. They were all puzzled, and Yu Yushan was the first to inquire. Eldest young master, we do not know where to start. Do you perhaps know his location? But even so, why don't we go after him this instant instead of waiting to break through? Ha ha, Zhuo Fan is bedridden, and he'll make sure to hide where no one can find him. Not even me. But Sir Long knows he will sooner or later appear at one place, and that is where we'll wait for him. With him licking his wounds, we won't be disturbed for a while. It is our best chance to bolster our power. When everything is set and we ambush him, he will have no room to escape. Huangpu Qingtian laughed. The three nodded amazedly. If Sir Long said it, it must be so. The three placed a simple defensive array around them and ate the brimming sacred pill. Huangpu Qingtian smiled, placing Yin Fu and the others as guards. He placed his own defenses around and ate his own pill. The four of them were peak profound heaven experts, soon to be Radiant stage experts. Courtesy of brimming sacred pill, Huangpu Qingtian's soul strength would be multiplied tens of times, and not even Zhuo Fan with his shift would be able to escape his grasp. Zhuo Fan's end was nigh. In another place, a purple lightning bird stood before a dark cave. The crackling lightning was enough deterrence for any approaching spiritual beast. A man covered in blood laid in the cave, unmoving with his wings and arm ripped away. It was the first time Zhuo Fan had been in such a dangerous state. Shower sometimes looked back in worry. It wanted to get Zhuo Fan some food and water, but was worried it would come back to find a spiritual beast gorging on his body. So he stood watch. 10 days came and went as man and beast monopolized the cave in complete silence. Only on the 15th day, a groan came from Zhuo Fan as he opened his eyes. The blinding sunlight coming from outside made him squint. Shriek. Shower flapped its wings and cheered with a smile. Zhuo Fan forced himself up and said, Don't worry. As long as Blood Infant is safe, I won't die. How long was I out, Shower? He asked. Shriek. Shower flapped its wings and cried out. Zhuo Fan frowned and smiled. Half a month? Just in time. Come. It's time for us to settle a debt. Shriek. Shower barred his way, anxiously flapping its wings. You'll die if you go now. Smiling, Zhuo Fan patted its head. Don't write off your old man just yet. I've got more than just a strong arm. A sharp head on my shoulders. Shower, by my reckoning, I won't even have to lift a finger to kill them all. Shower cocked its head, unable to read between the lines. But seeing the crafty smirk, it dawned on the bird, I didn't lose my right arm for nothing. Touching the stump, Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted. Chapter 325. No, you lost. Chapter 325. No, You lost. A lonely and lazy figure was approaching the water exit in Beast King Mountain. From the empty right sleeve, it was clear he only had one arm. Zhuo Fan. The people beyond the National Elemental Stone had been waiting for him to show up for 20 days. After the fight back at the Earth exit, Zhuo Fan had vanished, only appearing before another exit. Now Zhuo Fan's coming had them gasping. He's still alive. But the pale face and the wobbling gait let them know he was far from healed. Being in such a damaged state, it would have been common sense to look for a quiet corner, somewhere to lay low and lick his wounds. Yet here he was, walking around. It made no sense. Luo Yunchang's eyes moistened. Why must you? Uncaring of the audience commenting on his appearance, Zhuo Fan walked forth. When he was 100 meters off of the water exit, he stopped. He looked down at the empty ground and sighed. Everyone was startled. What's he doing? Only Chu Qingqing and Luo Yunchang knew. Zhuo Fan paid homage to Xuaningxiang. This was where she died 20 days ago. Taking a deep and long breath, Zhuo Fan forced back his sadness and grief. Ninger, don't worry. Big Brother Zhuo will soon make everyone follow you for what they did to you. May it bring you peace. Ha ha ha, bold words. How are you going to get revenge with that weak and crippled body? Are you a comedian now? A whistle reached his ears. 4 people now stood before Zhuo Fan, Huangpu Qingtian and his allies. Then a dozen people walked out of the woods to surround him, Yin Fu and the surviving vassals. What was truly shocking was Huangpu Qingtian's group had entered the Radiant stage in preparation to deal with Zhuo Fan. Everyone knew they got the brimming sacred pill and that they had a good chance of advancing. But seeing it was another matter entirely. Seeing the 4 practically reborn, bolstered in power and speed, the people feared for the worse. In the long history of Tianyu, there had never been anyone entering the Radiant stage before the age of 30. But now there were 4 of them. Shocking the masses, Huangpu Tianyuan was the one suffering the most. If his son had brought just one brimming sacred pill home, the House Lord would have achieved his lifelong dream of entering the Radiant stage as well. But this wretched son of mine would rather leave his old man to die. Damn you. It was because of this he knew that when the 4 would return, their Radiant stage cultivation would be a threat to every House Lord. Ultimately to be replaced, the 4 House Lords looked at each other crestfallen. Chu Qingqing was worried, sick, choked with emotion. How was Zhuo Fan going to survive being wounded like that, and up against 4 Radiant stage experts? Fang Qiubai and Du Gazhantian shook their heads. Fate has caught up to the kid. He has nowhere else to go. Lung Wuchang was the only one with a smile on his face, like everything went according to plan. Zhuo Fan looked at the 4. Yet people found it odd how laid back he was about this whole trap thing. All he did was mutter, Ninger, do you see? Everyone who hurt you is here. Big Brother Zhuo will avenge you. Yu Yushan looked puzzled. Zhuo Fan, have you lost it? There are 4 Radiant stage experts here while you aren't even healed. There is a huge gulf between us, and yet you dare spout things like revenge? Humph, you have lost in all aspects. Lin Xinfeng shouted, frowning. Zhuo Fan glanced at him, then showed a vague smile. Ha ha ha. No. It's you who has lost everything? Cut the crap, you lunatic. Even the blind can see we 4 are invincible. Wake up and smell the roses. Lin Xuanfeng's eyes narrowed as he cursed, but Zhuo Fan's odd, mirthless smile unnerved him. Huangpu Qingtian felt the same. With how sly he is, what did he plan to remain so calm in front of us? Huangpu Qingtian looked around for clues. But nothing was picked up when he released his soul, and his worry only grew. Is he bluffing? Lung Wuchang was also frowning. Zhuo Fan was becoming more and more of an enigma. With a mocking smile on his lips, Zhuo Fan sighed. Lung Wuchang sure is something. Able to guess. I'll stop by to pay my respects to Ninger before leaving Beast King Mountain. He even had you set up an ambush. Truly a feat only unwanted contriver can pull. What? How can you know everything? Huangpu Qingtian cried. Lung Wuchang's eyes tightened, and his aged hand clutched his beard, shaking his head. Zhuo Fan said, I know nothing really. But one thing I do know. Every move we make is part of Lung Wuchang's grand design in some way or another. He'd been watching me for too long, and I must say, he knows me better than I do myself. Since nothing I do will escape his plans, why not let nature run its course? Huangpu Qingtian looked hard at him, then sighed as he probed. Are you giving up? No. Didn't I tell you already? I came for all your lives. Zhuo Fan's lips broke out into his trademark evil grin, seizing up. The four were totally oblivious to Zhuo Fan's meaning. He knows he can't escape Long Wuchang's predictions, so why is he playing the winner? Does he have a way to turn it all around? It was easy for Zhuo Fan to guess what was on their minds. Ha ha ha. I have indeed fallen for Long Wuchang's ploys. But to be fair, Huangpu Qingtian, haven't you fallen for mine as well? With Long Wuchang in the background, when it comes to you and me, I come out on top. Huangpu Qingtian shuddered, not knowing whether to believe him or not. Is this mere grandstanding, a bluff? Long Wuchang shot to his feet, his face changing color in seconds. His eyes swirled around, his mind fast at work. Then he looked up and cried, "Did the punk know he can't escape my plan, so he went on the offensive to lay a trap for eldest young master? But when did he?" Long Wuchang's mind had guessed it, just that he didn't know the specifics, and his face paled. Zhuge Changfeng eyed this unwanted contriver and grinned. Avoid a ready enemy and only fight when he is weary. The kid sure is sharp. He knows he can't beat you in this mind game, so he chose to accept everything you did to him and fight your eldest young master. Sir Long, you are not there by your lord. His scheming mind pales in comparison. Zhuo Fan's eyes sure are vicious. Ha! Words failed Long Wuchang. All he could do was stew in his anger. What did this punk do to Huangpu Qingtian to act so confident before four Radiant stage experts? Not even Zhuge Changfeng could figure it out, least of all him. Is this young pup able to turn the tables? He didn't believe it. He didn't want to believe it. Zhuge Changfeng was looking at the national elemental stone in anticipation. This prime minister wanted to see what godly scheme could he pull off to turn all of it around. Huangpu Qingtian stared hatefully at him. Zhuo Fan, stop lying. I don't believe you. With your weak body, what can your meager attempts possibly do against four Radiant stage experts to reverse this situation? Haha, you're wrong. To be honest, it's not me who will do it, you will. You will give me victory. In fact, I won the instant you guys entered the Radiant stage. Zhuo Fan snickered. Huangpu Qingtian roared, cut the bull. You're clearly faking it. I will personally turn you to ash and see you mock me then. Huangpu Qingtian pounced, aiming for Zhuo Fan's head. With how weak Zhuo Fan was, his head would crack like an overripe tomato. Luo Yunchang cried out and turned away. Chu Qingcheng was deeply troubled by what was coming, while only Zhuo Fan's smile never faltered. Like the incoming fist wasn't even there when the fist was about to touch him, he made a sign rumble. For no apparent reason, Huangpu Qingtian found his body stopping dead in its tracks. He couldn't control his body. Looking up at Zhuo Fan, he found the man's grin spitting on his face. Chapter 326, Zhuo Fan's Deceit. Chapter 326, Zhuo Fan's Deceit. Elite Coder. Eldest young master. Yu Yushan and the other two cried out, seeing Huangpu Qingtian frozen in place. Huangpu Qingtian was sweating buckets. I can't move. What are you standing around for? Do something. He knew Zhuo Fan must have done something, though he didn't know exactly what. Never for the life of him did he think it possible for Zhuo Fan, on his deathbed, to be hiding such an eerie trick. The fear of not knowing how he did it only amplified the dread. He was now stuck in place, waiting for the axe to fall. Even as his heart was beating out of his chest, his three allies knew time was of the essence and sprung on Zhuo Fan. As well, the three mighty Radiant stage powers slammed into Zhuo Fan. He was forced 2 steps back, but he was not in the least bit panic. Going by the wide grin, stop. Making the same sign, Zhuo Fan mocked. I told you, you already lost. Rumble. Just like Huangpu Qingtian, the three stopped as well. Bug-eyed, they looked at the grinning Zhuo Fan in fear. They couldn't move. As well, the viewers cried out in shock and doubt. Zhuge Changfeng and Long Wuchang were also astounded. What did the punk do to gain control of them? They knew Zhuo Fan had the 4 in the bag. As for when the bag opened and the 4 were shoved in, no one knew. Not even the 2 greatest minds of Tianyu. The most aware of it all were the victims. Huangpu Qingtian watched Zhuo Fan in shock. What did you do to me? Zhuo Fan only giggled and looked around. Once he had the 4 riled up, and the dozen vassals scared out of their minds, he spoke. Eldest young master, you are fated to rule. Providence made you king. Can it be that your elders never told you when you were a child not to take candy from a stranger? What did we take? Huangpu Qingtian was stunned for a second, and then it all came crashing down. The pills. Nodding, Zhuo Fan showed the same smile. We have a winner. The very same 8th grade pill, brimming sacred pill. I left a little something inside it, you see. So when you entered the radiant stage, you had already lost. This can't be. Huangpu Qingtian and the other 3 felt a chill crawling up their spines. The pills they got that boosted their power were spiked that meant they were now affected by its poison. But Huangpu Qingtian got them by coincidence when he ripped out Zhuo Fan's right arm. How could Zhuo Fan give it to us on purpose? Don't tell me. Eyes wide as saucers, they looked upon Zhuo Fan in horror. It was his plan all along? To even rip his own arm? Zhuo Fan knew fully well what went on in those little heads of theirs. Looks like you figured it out. I let Huangpu Qingtian take my right arm on purpose. The crowd was in complete shock. Long Wuchang's eyes shuddered. Zhuo Fan's scheme ran so deep, so ruthless, that it made even unwanted contriver shiver. Who'd ever see it coming? He gave up an arm to have Huangpu Qingtian at his mercy. The people looking at the one-armed and frail Zhuo Fan had long lost their sympathy. Even his pale face was warped into that of a demon in the minds of his enemies. This clueless herd of sheep actually dared to surround the wolf. Ha ha, shocking, ain't it? I knew that I wouldn't be a match for you. So I cooked up a little something and had you all invited for dinner. Victory got to your head and pride lowered your guard. You thought I was breathing my last, that all danger had lifted. Then you took those tampered pills in your greatest moment of weakness. Zhuo Fan grinned maliciously back then. He knew Chu Qingcheng and the others were trapped as he rushed to the water exit. On his way, he noticed a cold pond, reminding him of his old plan since God knew when to use bloodworms on his enemies. So he took advantage of the time Huangpu Qingtian believed his mind was in chaos after falling for their ploy and prepared his own scheme. Seeing Ninger dead truly made him go berserk, going after Huangpu Qingtian for revenge. Killing him himself would have been better, but if he did lose, he had this trick in mind ready to turn it all around. Just in case, like he said, he accepted all of Long Wuchang's machinations, but not without leaving Huangpu Qingtian with a gift of his own, something Long Wuchang would never consider. Seeing how everyone was up to their neck deep in his ploy and couldn't make sense of anything, Long Wuchang always assumed they couldn't spare anything in plotting back. But Zhuo Fan knew he couldn't avoid it, so he accepted it all with open arms, leaving him with the opening needed to plan his own trickery, the one to take the win. Huangpu Qingtian stared at this demon incarnate horrified. Long Wuchang was also trembling. He'd been a schemer and a plotter all his life, always achieving his projections. But Zhuo Fan managed to twist it around at the final moment. Then again, when taking into account Zhuo Fan's weird methods, hardly anyone could make feasible projections, but nevertheless, a loss was a loss. Long Wuchang had to man up and admit he failed at the most crucial moment. All victories leading up to here were for nothing when he botched the final and most crucial battle. Zhuge Changfeng taunted, Sir Long, it seems to me that you messed with not just any monkey, but great sage, the equal of heaven, ha ha ha. Long Wuchang's face twitched as he stewed in his own anger. Huangpu Qingtian was floored. Impossible. If we had never found those pills, your plan would have gone up in smoke and you'd lose your hand for nothing. Those pills clearly had Feng Qiubai's seal. Huangpu Qingtian's stiff face turned to Yin Fu grinning. Zhuo Fan said, what about the seal? Ha ha ha, true. You wouldn't have trusted the vials if you found them without the seals. But what if those seals were somehow removed in front of you, or given the impression that they were? Yin Fu Huangpu Qingtian glared in hatred under the bewildered gazes of everyone. Yin Fu stepped behind Zhuo Fan. They just had the shock of their lives. Yin Fu was one of Zhuo Fan's. Luo Yunchang was stunned. Since when did the Luo clan get to him? Hall Lord Yin Buogong's eyes were ready to pop from their sockets. He's on Zhuo Fan's side? Since when? It was common knowledge that Zhuo Fan killed his master. There was no one out there who hated Zhuo Fan's guts more than him. So how? Ignoring the dumbstruck faces, Zhuo Fan mocked. You guessed it, he's with me. I made sure to give him a sending Jade Wei earlier too. If you hadn't found the pills on your own, he was there to make sure you'd correct that little mishap. And to make sure to remove any traces of my meddling. Of course, for you guys, someone insignificant like him would fall under your radar. But he ultimately sided with me and got you to fall for it, thus turning all this around. He takes all the credit for your defeat. Zhuo Fan praised Yin Fu. You were marvelous. I won't soon forget it. Thank you, Steward Zhuo. Yin Fu bowed. Yin Buogong's frail heart cracked. How was it that the pride of Pil King Hall, their genius alchemists hailed within their house, all ended up at Zhuo Fan's hands? And that was right under their nose, too. He did it so openly, before every clan and house in Tianyu, that he literally bitch-slapped Pil King Hall into the ground. Long Zhuo and Jian Suifeng sighed in admiration. They discussed it back in Drifting Flower City that Zhuo Fan was unequaled when it came to digging up a party's cornerstones. But seeing it firsthand, they had to take their hat off to him. And he did that with his most hateful enemy. Not even unwanted contrivers saw that coming. The spy Zhuo Fan planted, or converted, was none other than the one who hated him the most. Yin Fu. Yin Bongi saw red before his eyes. Yin Fu, you damn treacherous knave. You actually stooped so low to side with the man who killed your master? You are unworthy to be a Pil King Hall disciple, even less so to walk the earth. Humph, ever since my master left, it only got worse for me living in Pil King Hall. I have nothing to return to. Who cares about being some Pil King Hall disciple? Also, squinting, Yin Fu's hate-filled eyes showed a hint of warmth. Unaware, he clutched at his chest. There laid hidden a green jade slip. Chapter 327, Revenge Game. Chapter 327, Revenge Game. Elite Coder. It was the same jade Zhuo Fan gave him when the man answered Huangpu Qingtian's challenge. It had a simple sentence, one that touched his heart. It was something his master had Zhuo Fan give to him. If you find your life in Pil King Hall difficult, come with Steward Zhuo to find me. He was certain from the soul trace on the jade slip that it was without a doubt his master's. The familiar feeling was so strong. He barely held back his tears. His master lived in the Luo clan. And by the sound of it, quite well he recalled what Zhuo Fan told him at the time, that he'd take him to see his master in hell. It was a clear proof of acceptance from that instant. This youth who hated Zhuo Fan's guts switched sides at the drop of the hat. He became Zhuo Fan's spy, feeding him information in secret. Yin Fu's eyes snapped to his clansmen and he shouted, Yin Bongi, listen up. From this very moment, I and Pil King Hall are through. I belong to the Luo clan. A failure like you has no right to judge me. Yin Bongi was a keg set to blow, evident from his red face. His chest heaved, yet he couldn't find a word of reply. This son of a bitch finds himself some backing and thinks he can defy me? No matter how big a nerve he had earlier, he still wouldn't curse back. But now, Zhuo Fan was laughing it up at their expense. He praised Yin Fu. Well said. This is the kind of mettle all youths of the Luo clan should have. These 4 may be in 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, but to me, they aren't worth a goddamn thing. Zhuo Fan's words were lofty and powerful. Looking down on all creation, Yin Fu was excited. Chest forward, head bobbing, the pride on his face unmistakable. He took on the same attitude he had when traveling with vicious Pil King inside. He sighed. Following Zhuo Fan is truly out of this world, freedom and bliss. All the hatred and bitterness festering in his heart during these years magically went away. No wonder my master got up and dumped Pil King Hall. His attitude sent a shiver down their spine. Scour the world, and one would find the Luo clan's Zhuo Fan the only one to ever look at the 7 houses with such loathing. By the looks of it, this clan was growing in power, its future only bright. People began seeing the Luo clan in a different light, but the Luo clan's people had no time to mind others' opinion of them. Looking at the national elemental stone in worry, Zhuo Fan was dominating the show, but seeing how wounded he was, Luo Yunchang couldn't fight back the pain in her heart. Seeing the bloody one-armed Zhuo Fan, outsiders got the wrong idea seeing the Luo clan so worried. They thought worry came from Zhuo Fan possibly letting emotions override his judgment, and that he might do something he would regret. In every esoteric debate that had been held in the past 1,000 years, many people died while the 7 houses held each other in professional courtesy, thus coming out unharmed each time. This time was no exception. They were split into factions, with heavy casualties on both sides. Yet even in the most disastrous esoteric debate in history, all those that died were vassals. None from the 7 houses fell, not one from 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. This seemed to be the house's bottom line, however. If Zhuo Fan were to get impulsive and kill these four, it would mark the start of the house war. This will make the Luo clan fodder in this war. And nobody from the Luo clan wanted to see that happen, but they were clearly overthinking things. They were blissfully unaware that the Luo clan was loyal to Zhuo Fan to a fault, even if fewer in numbers. They would accept any decision Zhuo Fan made, even bringing doom to the Luo clan, of course. With Zhuo Fan's cunning mind, there was no way he'd let that happen. So Luo clan's people held unshakable trust in Zhuo Fan's. Every action Zhuo Fan's decision was Luo clan's decision. What are you gawking at? He's on his deathbed. Attack together, and he will die. Huangpu Qingtian shouted at the rest. The four of them took the brimming sacred pill and couldn't control themselves, but their vassals hadn't and could still pose a threat to Zhuo Fan. It was the perfect moment to strike, at his most vulnerable. Once he got better, all would be done for. Yu Yushan noticed this as well and shouted along with his allies. They didn't get to move as the dozen bone-tempering cultivators' eyes went blank and they collapsed. Zhuo Fan snickered. I may be wounded, but did you forget? My soul is in the radiant stage. The four gasped. They should have known that a sleeping tiger was still a tiger. Since when could ants take the soaring demonic dragon's life? The four were wrecked with despair. Huangpu Qingtian threatened. Zhuo Fan, think this through. Killing us will start a war with our houses and the vassal clans. Are you willing to take that chance? Not even the emperor can save you then. War? Yin Fu knew the Luo clan was under the imperial family and Dugu Zhantian's protection, and since he had yet to be filled into the Luo clan's true power, he began to worry. Did I enter the Luo clan only to die? Zhuo Fan grinned. Quite true. Killing you will start a war. How scary. But I am never one to write off a revenge. What to do? Zhuo Fan put on a hypocritical thinking posture. Huangpu Qingtian's group was even more unnerved by his attitude. They hoped the punk would look at the big picture and get scared of what he saw, sparing them. In the meantime, it went double for Huangpu Qingtian. Providence had him king and all that. His life was invaluable. How could he just die? I have it. Zhuo Fan snapped his fingers, earning a jerk from his victims. Since I have to get revenge, but you are nonetheless valuable and oughtn't be killed. I can only let heaven decide your fate. The four were shocked, but Zhuo Fan's hand made a sign and the four could move. Though none of them could use their yuan qi, their cultivation was sealed. Huangpu Qingtian groaned as a thumb-sized hole appeared on his chest. The pain almost made him black out as he looked down. He was unbeatable all his life, never even suffering a heavy wound. But this sudden hole exploding from within was heartrending. Bam. 3 more groans and his allies shared his pain. Zhuo Fan, what are you going to do? Huangpu Qingtian gnashed his teeth. If you plan on killing us, stop playing and release us from this torment. Release you? Ha ha ha. Did you release Ninger? Zhuo Fan's smile was that of anger. Relax. I said that your fate is in heaven's hand and will give you guys a chance. I am a man of my word. The holes in your chest represent your number. He gestured at the four. The four found Huangpu Qingtian having 1 hole, so he ought to be 1. Yu Yushan had 2, Yin Bangyi had 3, and Lin Xianfeng had 4. They looked at each other bewildered. Zhuo Fan smiled. We will play a game, the Great Escape. I will give you guys 3 days to find the keys and leave this place. Getting back to Dragon Cloud City, your lives will be spared. But if I find you before you leave, terribly sorry, but that's Providence. Now you can't blame me for being short-sighted and not giving you a way out. Zhuo Fan's hand flashed, and the keys to 3 exits appeared. He tossed them into the sky, and they were soon spread all over Beast King Mountain. Yin Fu, make a sealed box for me holding 4 lots. 3 days later I will be drawing one. My target. As for the rest of you lucky fellows, you'd be spared for a while. Since I am a bastion of fairness, I will release a signal before my hunt. Your lives are now in heaven's hands. With a wicked grin, Zhuo Fan waved them off. Come on, off you go. But remember, you better hope I don't find you. The 4 exchanged a glance and bolted in 4 directions. They knew Zhuo Fan was playing with them, but they had no choice in the matter. All they could do was fight. Yin Fu gasped and turned to Zhuo Fan. Steward Zhuo, are you killing them or letting them go? Why go through all this trouble just to kill them? And if you wanted to let them go? Humph, how could I ever let them off? Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted and his mood became deadly. Yin Fu, do you fear death? Yes. Yin Fu nodded after a pause. Zhuo Fan shook his head. No, you do not fear death, but dying. Ninger was a pure-hearted girl. Although she had a smile upon her face at death, I know it was for our sakes. She knew she was going to die and must have felt a terrible dread. This fear tortured her for 3 days. Zhuo Fan clenched his fists, his eyes bloodshot as he spat. So I will make those sons of bitches know the true meaning of fear every waking moment until they'd wish for death. Yin Fu shuddered and nodded. Zhuo Fan never cared about some big picture, nor intended to let them off. He wanted them to suffer more than Xuaning Xiang did. Yin Fu now understood why he did it, and went into the forest to carve a box out of a tree. Zhuo Fan stayed behind, closed his eyes and resumed. Healing time passed on, and the 3rd day was soon up. At the dawn of the 4th, Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed open, out for blood by his side. Yin Fu presented the box, obscuring its content. This was the item that would decide the 4's fate. The hunt was on. Chapter 328, Go on Run, One-Legged Dragon. Chapter 328, Go on Run, One-Legged Dragon. Elite Coder. Which one? Which one? I wonder who's the lucky bastard that gets to go first. The suspense is killing me. Sneering, Zhuo Fan snapped his fingers, and a wood piece floated out of the box. A tiny character was etched on it. 4. Oh, it's 4. Zhuo Fan's face split into a wide and very malicious grin. Then he asked, Remind me again, who was number 4? Yin Fu spoke with reverence. Steward Zhuo. Number 4 is Forest Fleeting Dragon, Lin Xianfeng. Oh, it's that gimp dragon. What rotten luck. Among 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, I seem to recall having already taken my ire on him twice so far. Now Providence has spoken and has placed him first in my path. Ha ha ha, I can't help but wonder. Has his crimes earned him such ill fate, or is he just so down on his luck, so cursed, to suffer hell first? Laughing, Zhuo Fan said, Whatever in his case, he truly must be ill-fated. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan pointed at the sky. A flare shot up and exploded into 4 fireworks, bathing the Beast King Mountain in red. The frantic Huangpu Qingtian, scurrying in the forest, looked up at the sound, for fireworks means number 4. Lin Xianfeng is such an unlucky dog. Huangpu Qingtian shook his head, rejoicing inside. Zhuo Fan was really playing by the rules and wasn't targeting him specifically. Or more likely than not, he'd be after him the first chance he got. With Lin Xianfeng playing the first victim, it bought him precious time to find the keys, tightening the red crystal in his hand. Huangpu Qingtian took a deep breath and sped up in the search for its pair. He needed yin and yang keys to be home free. He had to work even faster now. Who knew how fast Lin Xianfeng would fall, and who'd be the next poor schmuck to follow? On the off chance it was him, that would mean death. Although he breathed easier for a moment, the anxiety only mounted. Yin Bongyi and Yu Yushan noticed the flare with their nerves stretched taut. This meant Zhuo Fan's death game had started, but they relaxed soon after, seeing Zhuo Fan going after Lin Xianfeng. Their safety was assured. For now, though, they also knew that once Lin Xianfeng fell, Zhuo Fan would go after them. And with their cultivation sealed up, Zhuo Fan would pick them like ants, and so their speed mounted, as did their will to live. The pressure had grown on the 3 who lucked out, but the last one was showing quite a different reaction. Hell yeah. I got the wood exit keys. My luck is off the hook. In a particularly glum and dark corner of the forest, Lin Xianfeng clenched the 2 green crystals and danced in joy. Even with a number of close to 30,000 people wandering Beast King Mountain's forest for a month now, the wood exit keys were never found. And here he was catching a lucky break. This luck is godlike. All he had to do was get to the wood exit, and he'd be back in the safety of Dragon Cloud City. This would make his survival, by Zhuo Fan's game rules, Providence. Zhuo Fan couldn't touch him. Zhuo Fan may be a very sore loser, but every elder in Dragon Cloud City, along with Du Gazhantian and Feng Qiubai keeping the peace, would make sure to prevent any foul play. He would be safe. Filling his lungs with air, Lin Xianfeng felt the urge to bow before the mighty power of heaven, to offer his gratitude for actually caring, for once, about his fate. All previous resentments were wiped clean as his luck had finally turned. He was looking at the dawning sky with a smile on his face when a sudden flare exploded into 4 fireworks. The crimson sky reflected perfectly on his equally red face. The heavens are giving me their blessing, ha ha ha. Lin Xianfeng was still trapped in his fantasy, giggling away. But then his smile froze. How can old heaven get up and burst for no rhyme or reason? That's man-made. With the four having their cultivation sealed, it only left Zhuo Fan. Is that the signal starting his death game? The sky had 4 fireworks. Doesn't that paint a target on number 4? Lin Xuanfeng's face twitched, looking rigidly at his chest and the holes in it. There they were, in all their bloody glory, 4 holes bored into him precisely 3 days ago. Fuck, I'm that number 4. The corners of Lin Xuanfeng's mouth sank and tears threatened to burst out of his eyes. He had a good thing going here, this close to renewing his lease on life. But Providence had a different plan in mind, sending Zhuo Fan on a manhunt for the first target. Him he plunged from the glorious halls of paradise into the infernal abyss. My luck has turned worse than ever. Old heaven, could you please not tease me? Lin Xuanfeng's heart shuddered, his eyes hot from tears, feeling victimized. Not forgetting the fact that he wasn't even included in the plan to kill the lass. That was all Yin Bongyi and Yu Yushan's doing, prodded by Huangpu Qingtian from behind. He should be going after those 3 for revenge. Why? Why is it that the first one that monster is hunting is me? It's so unfair. Lin Xianfeng wailed, asking the heavens with his pitiful eyes, what do I do now? At this very moment, he felt like the most miserable and wretched man in this whole wide world, never mind the leg Zhuo Fan snapped off of him, or the hand Zhuo Fan disintegrated. Zhuo Fan was now hot on his heels for revenge. Yet he, the only one innocent in this whole matter, was the first target. Just what magnitude of bad luck was this? Lin Xuanfeng's eyes opened the floodgates, however. He didn't have time to wallow in self-pity. With 2 keys in hand, all he had to do was get to the wood exit and he'd be the winner. Lin Xianfeng broke into a mad dash, short of 1 leg, granted, but not slower than in his prime. His title, Forest Fleeting Dragon, was granted for his amazing speed after all. But with a flash of golden light, there came Zhuo Fan popping not 100 yards from the man. Lin Xianfeng, you saw the flare, I assume. Indeed, you're my first victim. Be good and stand still, would you? Isn't it too soon? How did he find me so fast? Lin Xianfeng whipped his head back and sure enough, Zhuo Fan had a positively killing smile. Bro, can't you cut me some slack? Huangpu Qingtian planned on killing the girl, and the other 2 executed it. I was in the dark when it happened. If you want revenge, go take it out on them. I'm innocent here. Lin Xianfeng hopped away in panic, a sniveling mess, as he begged. But the dread only grew and the despair deepened. Smiling, Zhuo Fan looked down on the man but never got closer. He always stayed within 100 meters. You're right. Among the 4, you can be called innocent. But how is it my fault your number came up? I made this game and will respect its rules. You only have old heaven to blame for your hapless fate. Ha ha ha. Face sinking deeper in sorrow, Lin Xianfeng gave his all and hopping forward, but could never shake Zhuo Fan off. Since it's fate, I can only resign to it. Why must I suffer so? The hunter could collect on his life any time he wanted, but wasn't doing it for his own amusement since death was certain. A quick one was preferred. Lin Xianfeng sighed and slowed down. Zhuo Fan knew what he was thinking from 100 meters away, but you are also right in being innocent. Here's a thought. I see you have the wood exit keys, so I will make an exception. If you can reach the wood exit and Dragon Cloud City within a day, you win and I will consider the matter settled. Truly? The resigned Lin Xianfeng found a glimmer of hope and his speed shot up again. Zhuo Fan's cold tone came from 100 meters away again. I'll be right here, behind you. If your time is up and you're still here, I'll make my move. Lin Xianfeng bobbed his head. You said it, so you better not go back on your word. Ha ha ha. I am playing the game by the books and with no regrets. Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted. Lin Xuanfeng's heart burst with joy, and he put more power in his leg. At some point, sweat poured down him like rain and his leg seared with pain. After hopping for half a day, he found that he still had a lot of ground left to cover. He ignored the pain and pushed through at full speed. Zhuo Fan was always behind him, coldly staring and sharpening his bloodthirst. Humph, Forest Fleeting Dragon, did you really think I'll let you live? I only chose the best way to kill you. Not a single person related to Ninger's death will be spared. Zhuo scoffed internally.